9 o'clock, please join us for pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda is approve the minutes of July 18th. As presented.
Also move, Mr. Chairman.
Don's moved.
All second.
Tim second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All abstain. I was absent. Passes. 4-1. 4-0, whatever, however you want to do it. Oh, that was oh, okay. Superintendent. Craig Marshall.
Well, good morning. Thank you for the time, and again, thank you for your leadership in the county. I know it's always a challenge when you're in leadership positions, so thank you again for your service. I wanted to give you just a quick update because we did have our 1-year anniversary back in June with the Burlington Early Learning Center. I have asked Lexi Malota and Taylor Akers to join us. They are our new leaders there at the daycare. Again, just kind of want to give you a quick update. We started out last year with 18 kiddos. We are now 39, correct? Right there at 39, we have 4 infants that will be coming very soon. So we are rapidly approaching that 43 number or even more. It just kind of depends on from day to day. We get phone calls and we are actually, like I say, approaching that 48 number where it was our maximum capacity, which as of right now, we are working towards even extending our capacity upwards of maybe into 72 possibly, 92 possibly, which would be, like I say, incredible. So again, we just, like I say, the growth is pretty amazing. This first year has been an incredible challenge with COVID, as you know, and the things that you guys have had to deal with, we've had to deal with that as well. But like I say, it's just been, an incredible, I guess, an asset, if you will, to the county to have a facility like this. I shared with you some information on, kids. We have kids that are coming from all throughout the county: Burlington, Waverly, New Strong, Gridley, even Gardner and Kincaid. And then our staff that work with us are in Burlington, Gridley, New Strong, Westphalia, Hartford. Different entities that we're serving are those people, again, who work at, Coffee Health Systems, Wolf Creek, Hoovers, the City of Burlington, the Coffee County Sheriff's Department. So we're serving a lot of different, people so that they can go to work and have a great place for their kids to be. And, this is very important, for the growth of Burlington, the growth of Coffee County, economic development, which you guys are obviously involved with, and Bobby Skipper as well has been involved with those types of, entities that could be happening here in the future, and having, a good quality daycare for, for families so that employees can work and do a great job is going to be very, very important. So with that, I don't know if you have any questions for either me, Lexi, or Taylor.
What is your max goal?
Well,
do you think?
It could be 92 as we see.
92 would be pushing it. That's like, we're trying to make sure the quality of care is, we're not going just fill it up. That would be
correct.
92 would be.
So I was wondering, you going to get ready to move over into the school, or?
If we got to that point, we would have to start talking.
In my mind, I guess, and ladies, they can chime in too. When we get to that 48, I'm going to say that 48 to 60 range, that's probably going to be a real good number for us. And again, obviously, a lot depends on the age of the kids, because with ratios, the younger the kids, you have to have a lower ratio for adults to little kids. So, you can have, fewer infants, and you're going to have fewer kids, or excuse me, more infants, and you would have fewer kids in the center. But if you have older kids, the 4- and 5-year-olds, you could have more of those kids, and I say you end up with a total, student count there, it would be, I say, a larger amount. But so again, it's in a lot of ways, we're kind of building the plane as we fly it based on the ages of the kids and the enrollments that, that we're dealing with, and just from learning from experience and finding out different things. This first year has been, like I say, an incredible experience because we've learned an awful lot throughout this first year. I guess the best ways to do things and make things better and improve, so.
Is it able to sustain itself as far as financially goes?
Well, these first 2 years we're using grant funds for the most part. Well, if you remember right, when I met with you a year ago, 48 was kind of our number, kind of that break even or slight profit margin for us. So we are very close to that 48. We knew this first year we were going to be using grant funds, and the second year and again, COVID has thrown a monkey wrench obviously into our plans because we had hoped for a few more kids, sooner than now. A year later, we're at that 39 to 43 range. We kind of had hoped that we might get there maybe mid-year last year, around December, January, February. We just didn't quite get there at that point. So we're not able to sustain ourselves yet. It's not making money yet, and our Board of Education is aware of that, but we have grant funds to be able to get us through. This next year, obviously, will be, like I say, it's important as we get closer to that 48 number that we believe then it'll be self-sustaining.
Cool.
As your numbers continue to increase, Craig, how difficult is it to retain them? Not to retain, but to hire the staff that's qualified to do it?
That's a challenge. It is a challenge because there's training that you have to go through.
I was wondering how much training or what their qualifications.
It's like an 18-hour course. It's called KCCTO. I cannot remember exactly.
Foundation.
Yeah, it's a certain a set of online modules, and I've gone through the training. It's good. I mean, it's good training. It's just good to know even as a grandfather, which I am now, and so it's a lot though. It's 18 hours of module-based training, and you take little tests or assessments, quizzes, and you have to score a certain score to be able to pass it. So it is a little bit of a challenge, and that's kind of what we're trying to do in year two. We've got to work on hopefully doing some salary increases for our staff, because our staff right now is just tremendous, and Taylor and Lexi are just doing a tremendous job taking on from year one and going into year two and into the future. So yes, and Haley Gifford was our original daycare director. She ended up getting a teaching job, and she did a good job for us in year one as well. So we're working through those things. We got to work on increasing staff salaries as well, because we want to retain those great people that are working with the kids. So it's like anywhere, everybody is dealing with trying to find employees, and trying to find good employees is a challenge.
How many kids or how much room do you have as far as kids, as far as the building itself? What's your maximum?
Well, again, I'd say we could get to 92, but 92 would be stacking them high and tight.
The state licensing has, like per square foot, how many kids of what ages we can have. So we're trying to get all the rooms licensed for different age groups, so we can have, as Craig said, depending on the age of the kids we have, we can use different rooms for different aged kids. I can't fathom us going much over 60 in that building. It would be very crazy.
Yes.
Very loud.
And to kind of give you an idea, we do have 5 different rooms that in there. So again, it just really truly depends on the ratio piece. We really want that quality and be able to get it to a point where it's sustainable versus quality, and we just don't want them just to be like a conveyor belt and kids just come in and they're not. We want that attention. We want that special attention for the kids where they're working on early literacy, early numeracy, numbers, shapes, colors, letters. It's an immersive type environment, and they get attention, from the adults working there. So, yeah, I mean, again, that 60 number would probably be a really good number for us, and could be terrific, at least in this facility that we have currently. But there's a need, as you guys have found out, and you guys know about, that there's truly a need for daycare. And again, the future economic development pieces that are potentially in place here for the county, to get employees to fill those positions, you're going to have daycare to be able to have a great place for those parents to send their kids. So, other questions? Good questions. Other questions? Anything else?
Good program for the area.
Yeah, I have actually gotten multiple phone calls since I've been over there. I started at the end of April, of families that want to move to the area, but they can't move. They can't find childcare, so asking if we have spots. They're looking to buy houses. One of them is just down the street from me that's been for sale for a long time, and I talked to her for a long time about the area and wanting to come here and live here and work here, and they've got 6 kids they're gonna bring to the area, but she needed to know she'd have daycare for her youngest daughter, she wouldn't be able to come.
That's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
With the need that's there, are any of the other school districts considered anything, or are you aware of anything like that?
As of right now, no, I'm not aware, but as you can see, we are serving, again,
You're serving
families.
something.
Yeah, this to me truly, it's not, we call it the Burlington Early Learning Center, but it's serving Coffee County and beyond. We heard stories even before we started our daycare that there were people that were driving to and from Emporia, to and from Linden, here in the county to take their kids to daycare. So they were driving 30 minutes, 40 minutes one way, drop their kids off, come back and work, and then go pick them up later, that evening.
It's a definite need. I've done in-home daycare in my home for 20 years, and I've always been over capacity because kids need a place to go, and Craig met with us before they started, and all of us in-home daycares were like, please, open, we need more.
We need a
Like,
safe place
we
to
have
send the
so
kids.
many kids. Some of the kids I would take just because they needed a safe place to be, but I shouldn't legally have that many kids in my home, but they needed somewhere to go, and, parents can't just not send their kids to daycare.
Right.
Very well.
Anything else?
They've already asked all the questions I was going to, but, do you have an idea, I mean, you're seeing if there's any ARPA funds left? Do you have a number in mind?
I think anything would be obviously greatly appreciated and accepted. And I talked with Bobby Skipper a little bit about a number of different things, and I think he is kind of working with you guys as well as maybe even with Angie and others, just to see if there are potential funds available. Again, like I say, anything is greatly accepted. You guys have been great. Economic Development has helped us with a gift earlier to start out with a $10,000 gift. You guys helped us out with some ARPA funds previous, and I guess if there were funds available, I didn't want to miss out on them by not at least coming to approach you, and then if we didn't approach you, then after the fact, we'd be kicking ourselves if we didn't. So again, we wanted just to be, I guess, be on your radar if there was an opportunity. And anytime you want to take a tour, just feel free, just send me an email, connect. Angie has my email. If you guys don't have mine, connect with me. We'll be happy to take you over on a tour. You can see everything in action. So anyway. Okay.
I haven't had any discussion with anybody about any numbers yet on the ARPA funds, and I don't know, did we get our second half yet?
Not yet,
Okay.
not yet.
I think we have some of that allotted for some other things too, so it sounds like we'll have to explore a little bit to
That
see
would be-
where we're at. But
That would be terrific. We appreciate your
for me,
consideration.
anyway.
Thank you. We won't take up any more of your time. Again, thank you for your service, and thanks for everything you guys do for Coffee County.
Thanks for that.
All right, we'll see you later. Have a good day.
Next is Auditor Phil Jarrett, 2023 budget preparation. I don't see in your office. Andy.
They're right here, outside the door.
We do kind of got to stay on schedule. We got a definite call in at 10:30.
Yep, I got it, I'll start printing now. I'm gonna be printing off what they just sent me, because I had to make a correction, and then I'll have copies for you guys. As soon as it opens up. We have another way to send that again, I'm having trouble opening it again. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. I don't know if it's the extension or. Let's just try.
issue.
Morning, Phil. How you
Good
doing?
morning, doing good. So while she's getting that printed, I'll just talk a little bit generically here. Last year, your assessed valuation was $622,195,000. This year it's $657,27, so it has went up $28 million. And real estate's about $5 million of that. Personal property is about $400,000. State assessed utilities is about $13 million of that. Oil and gas is about $700,000 of that. So, of course, you're probably aware we're still under the tax lid law, which changed in the last couple of years. But basically, you can't levy any more dollars than you levied the year before, unless you want to go through the revenue neutral rate process hearing, which I think you've already decided maybe to shoot for 5 mills as a starting point anyway. So the budget's as prepared with the 5 mil increase. The revenue neutral rate basically is the same dollars of taxes levied the year before divided by the new assessed valuation. So since your valuation went up, it's going to make it look like your mill levy went down. But it's the same dollars. If you raise another 5 mills, we'll have to look and see the number here shortly, but it'll be probably a similar mill levy to what you had before because the valuation went up. The thing about the tax lid law is if you get new improvements in town and you do good economic development and you get more tax base, you don't get any more dollars unless you go through the revenue neutral rate process and raise the mill levy to get those dollars and capture that. So that's kind of what most people are doing, is going through that process. And of course, you all know what commodity costs have done over the last year. We don't know how that's going to affect the current year's budget compared to what we set it at last year. So we're probably low maybe on some of the budgeted numbers from last year that you're in right now. So did you get the print?
We're still working on it.
Oh.
Okay, that'll work.
We'll see if that'll work for you.
Technology is a wonderful thing when it works.
Yeah.
When you want it to work quickly.
Quickly. No, quickly. It's Monday morning.
Any questions?
Yeah. On my other computer. I'm gonna try it out.
Okay.
You can take my copy, I guess, if you want to slap it on the copy.
I can do that too.
It won't have that last little
You don't have to
adjustment.
activate that, right?
It's just one update though.
Yeah.
You can do that in the meantime.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, I'll get it going and
This is a weekend project, so I was working and she probably wasn't. No time this morning to print it out apparently.
You don't just work Monday through Friday?
Well, I wasn't off last week, but I'm on a hospital board and we had a meeting out of town last week that I actually went to, so I wasn't doing budgets last week, and normally I am, so everything got pushed back a week. We did, of course, like normal, we went through and input all the budget requests that you've given us. So I think you guys have looked through and probably approved, and so we put those in. And I think as it stands right now, we're about just a hair over a 5 mil increase. So we got to cut about 219,000, I think it was, which I think we can find that to cut back if that's what you're thinking. I guess, did you discuss that revenue neutral rate thing?
No, it hasn't been discussed yet.
Not this year, we have.
Does it look like legislature gonna continue that for a few years, or? is
As
that-
far as I know, yeah, the budget template they still have set up to go back like the old way. If you got new improvements, you can get more tax dollars. They left all that in there thinking maybe they might go back to that when they come to their senses, but, as of right now, I don't know of any changes. Of course, you know, it all looks good for politics to say they're trying to control everybody's taxes, but, you know, one size doesn't fit all. Every district's different, and to me, you guys ought to be the ones taking care of your district. They don't listen to me.
Didn't get that phone call, right?
No, not on the radar screen, I guess.
We'll have them here soon. Can I address a couple of things with you guys real quick that's related to the budget? Okay, so you got a letter from CASA in front of you. Last year, we gave them 10,000, and, it looks like they're asking for 11,000 this year.
It shows that.
And so, are you guys okay with that? I gave him 11, but if not, we need to make the change now.
So that'll make another, if you do that, that makes another 1,000 we gotta get rid of.
I think we did put that.
We already put it in.
You already put it in.
Yeah.
We made that assumption, so.
Yeah. I just went ahead and gave him all those numbers and then let you guys decide which one to take out.
And I think we combined the janitor and maintenance departments together in one department. And Council on Aging, we had another 500 to make it 91.5. It was 91.
How much do you say we need to get out approximately?
219.
219?
219,946.
219,946. 220,000.
Yeah, 220 might as well call
Got off the road bridge. So,
You what,
I think that off the road bridge and never noticed the difference.
They always have carryover, correct?
Savings. There's savings account, that's all.
Yeah.
How much more was the library than what it was previously?
Do what?
The library was substantially increased more than what it was.
Yeah, but we
We
can't do anything.
can't really do
we can't
anything with it, but I mean,
it.
that's gonna be a good reason, one of the big reasons why we're at
Right.
200 and some thousand over.
Could
But I
we-
mean, like I say, you can't do anything about
Can't
it
do anything
anyway.
with them, because
Could we wait a year for a new tanker?
they're within their budgets.
Probably with the ordering situation, I don't know. It might push it back 3 years if you lose a year.
New brush truck?
I mean, there's-
I personally don't wanna mess with fire. I want them trucks to be able to get to my place if I need them. I want all that equipment there. I think everybody else would wanna do that too.
Oh, the brush truck.
I don't know. But I think we could do it from Road Bridge a whole lot easier than we could from fire.
Well, you know you're gonna be saving some amount of money. That road and bridge anyway.
Right.
Wonder how many miles is on the administrative vehicle?
Which administrative vehicle are gonna, Randall?
Fire chief,
No, that
There's
would be-
two, you want to do alphabetical order or start in the middle?
just throw it in the middle.
Are they the same, are these the same?
Yes.
Here's another one. Get one I got. I'll have a couple more here.
Is this all one here, Angie?
Yeah, that's all one.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the updated vehicle radios?
You what?
What about the updated vehicle radios for the fire department? Why do they gotta be updated? Didn't they just get updated here a few years ago?
Not all of them.
Not all of them?
Not all of them, some of them still got old.
They're still running the
Mhm.
old stuff?
Okay, who doesn't have one in the spot or don't? Okay. You got one there, so, all right. So, yeah, we'll,
Is that?
But everything went to
Yeah,
that,
I'll do
everything
it.
went to that. Man, are they just running handhelds?
It's in that template.
Radio?
yeah.
Because when they went to the 900 megahertz, I figured
So,
800 megahertz, they would have been updated the vehicles there.
Missing one?
Big question.
Well,
we have fire.
They did, but that was 10,
Well,
14 years ago.
has everybody got one of these?
It is
Yes, they all do that.
outdated now.
But they changed that 800.
except for me and Andrew, we don't. Don't you have one?
They're running the
I
800
never-
megahertz now.
I haven't given you one.
Yeah.
That was just
But
here.
you gave me one?
I don't think so.
Okay, all right.
I brought in two and you brought in a couple, so.
Still need one more.
At least 14 years.
The old radios, they can't get parts for them anymore.
Right, no, I know. They pretty much got all those out, phased out.
No, fire department doesn't, they still, probably 2/3 of theirs are still the old ones.
Really? Well, how do they communicate back and forth with each other? Through the handhelds?
Basically.
Because that radio won't go to the 800 megahertz radio. They won't, you can't talk back and forth.
Well, I think all the rigs, trucks have been updated, but there's still some handhelds out there that, some stations, that he was just gonna try to use the old ones, like take them from you and give them to me
Mm-hmm.
to keep me going,
Oh,
and you were gonna get new.
okay.
That was his original plan anyway.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
This is a lot of numbers for what was this
And
month.
so, regarding that revenue neutral rate, the notifications are, the file is gonna be sent to the printer tomorrow. That'll go out to all taxpayers, like you get a taxpayer, statement for your property. This is gonna be the same type of thing, but it's for R&R, showing the 5 mil increase, so, which is about, what'd you say, Phil, 3 million?
That's what we have here in the budget, and when you do that process, you can't have your hearing before August 20th, and I think we actually need to set a date, we haven't done that yet.
Yeah, we have it.
And, you can always lower it, you don't have to do the 5 mil if you can find somewhere between now and then to cut costs or find income and whatever, so you can always go down, it's just kind of a cover, fallback position in case you need to do it, so that's how this is prepared, that you're looking at. If you look on page, 26 is a summary of the notice of hearing to exceed the revenue neutral rate and the budget hearing. And overall, if we made no changes, this is what it would look like, with the exception of Special Bridge down there. We were needing to, when we input that, we had 23,000 for this year's capital outlay, and it's supposed to be 2.3 million, so that jumped that up to, what was the tax levy on that one? It's like 2 million something, I think.
2,252,152.
And how many mills was that?
3.461.
Okay, so when we get over to Special Bridge, I'll go through that a little more, clarify that a little bit more for you.
Do you want to put that stack of paper you can send over here?
Oh. your general fund, which starts on page 6. Page 6 is the income side of the general fund, next page is the expense side. First column is 2021 numbers. Now, we don't have the audit report ready, but we got the audit numbers ready and just don't have the formal report. I normally deliver it today, but we've been behind all year. You can see the general fund in the first column started out with $3,538,000, and if you go to the second column, it ended up last year with $2,051,000, so it did have a decrease in income. You see there, we levied about $1.5 million more in the year we're in now, which should help replenish that fund or get it to hold its own so it doesn't drop 1.5 million. So we kind of anticipated that last year. So the ad valorem and the delinquent tax, when I was here last year, that was the taxes we levied for the general fund. The motor vehicle down through the watercraft tax, the county treasurer gives us those estimates, so we use them. And you come on down, interest on tax, collected $110,208 last year, so we used $110 in the budget for this year, next year. And you can go on down. You had some federal grants. Generally, we don't stick those in there. We don't know about them, but if you do get one, it serves to increase your budget authority accordingly, so it's just in and out. Officer fees was at $125. We cut it to $120 just to be safe there. Recycling, sale of materials, had a big year last year. I don't know, it's cut back to 10. I don't know, maybe higher than that. I don't know, it bounces up and down apparently, so I'd like to be a little conservative on the revenue side so we don't over anticipate something we might not get. Down towards the bottom, we got the wind farm pilot money coming in lieu of taxes, interest on idle funds, miscellaneous. It'll be something, I don't know what, we just left that as 0. On the next page is the expense side of the general fund, but if you go to the following page after that, it shows the expenses by department. So, again, if you look at the first column, it's what was spent in 21. The second column here is basically what we had budgeted to be spent in 22. And then in 23, we did the budget requests as you had approved those. So you can kind of look down through there. I kind of look at the total expenses by department. County commission was 167 last year, 166 this year, 218 next year. You know, hopefully it's over budgeted a little bit. County clerk department, treasurer department, county attorney, register of deeds, all those look close. The unified court has a pretty good increase in it for contractual services. Courthouse general, kind of discretionary money. We really didn't know what you'd spend. Now, contractual services last year was $911,000. This year, we only had budgeted $400, so I don't know if there's any extra things in there. Or?
Well, we had lowered it, but at the end of the year, it looked like we were spending more, so we raised it back up.
Okay, so.
And we took some of the maintenance out of there and put it in a maintenance janitorial.
Oh, okay. So you think you're comfortable with those numbers in the 22 and 23 column then? I
am. I mean, at least till we see if things settle down between, because we've changed things. Mm-hmm. Some things were charged for house general. We're still trying to kind of iron all that out.
And then like airport right below it, you look, you know, we budgeted $575 for this year, but it's only been like $290 and $310 for next year, so that may be too high a number for 2022. So there's some playing room, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
That was the airport. That was the match funds, wasn't it?
Yeah, match funds for concrete.
So it will be higher this year then.
It is at 575.
Okay.
And next year will probably be lower.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So we're good there. Next page, you got the appraiser's department, county councilor election, janitor and maintenance, and there you see the increase in 22 and 23 by combining those departments. Not sure if it was combined in 21.
Yes.
Was? Yeah. Okay. So those numbers jumped way up compared to what was spent in. And that may be where you're saying you shifted some contractual over there where it belonged. Okay. Technology, training and equipment, wellness program, contractual services, and legal. Next page, you got public works asphalt program. We spent $1 million last year. We got $1.5 million for this year, next year. You know, if you need to cut somewhere, that might be a place to cut a little dab here and there, because you might not spend $1.5 million. Public Works, got some special bridge equipment under that category budgeted. Sheriff Department, Corrections, Emergency Management, Planning Committee, Joint Service Building, and the next page is the last page, and second to the last page. Appropriations to the Conservation District and Fair, Culture and Recreation, Coffee County Lake. I mean, all the numbers look reasonable with the prior years, what's been spent with little increase in cost. Also, Lake Regional Authority. Oh, I had that flagged. You probably got my penciling on there, but when I went through here, that $4,600 amount was not getting picked up in the totals down below. However, the right totals are on the summary page, so it didn't affect anything, but I've corrected that formula in the one she just sent you. So that's what the deal was on that. Services for the poor, page of the poor there for the CASAs where we had the 11,000, and the area agency on aging was 91.5. I think originally we had 90,000, 91 was supposed to be 91.5. Next page, you've got capital outlay projects. You know, got $1,250,000 budgeted for this year, next year there. And you can see you didn't spend that much last year, so there again, if we need to cut a couple $100,000, that might be a place to take it out of. Cities infrastructure is what you're sending out to all the various cities. Contractual services on community improvement, pretty good sized number there that could be dealt with too if you needed to. Capital outlay, I think you're trying to fund the closure care cost fund for the closure of the landfill eventually someday, so probably ought to leave that alone. Utilities costs there, and then various transfers, and a lot of those transfers we don't specifically budget, but if we over budgeted in some of these departments and at the end of the year, then you may shift that down and actually do these transfers. And you can see you did several of them last year at the end of 2021. Road and Bridge is on the next page. One thing I'd like to do is I'd like to look at how many dollars have been levied the last 2 years. So on Road and Bridge, if you look under ad valorem tax there in 2022, you got $4,856,000, and the year before $4,866,000. And then if you look at the very bottom right-hand corner on the second page, page 7A, you see in this budget we're budgeting $5 million, levying $5,254,168 to fund that budget request because the cash carryover is projected to come down by the end of this year and needed a little bit more money. So I'd like to just make sure we're levying enough dollars to fund the budget. So and I presume Wayne has looked at that budget and
He's the one that submitted it.
he's the one
to
that
us.
submitted it. So that, using his numbers, and that's assuming, you know, he spends in 2022 what he had budgeted, which usually he doesn't get it all spent, and it carries over and you end up a little bit better than you think. So hopefully that'll happen again. Just depends on how many projects you got going on. Ambulance department, top of page 8. There again, we're levying $996,915. Last year's $991, so that looks like we can fund that request. Conservation District levying $31,000 to give them a $32,000 budget. Economic development at the top of the next page on page 9. I kind of flagged that on mine because we're levying $408,159. Last year we levied $240,193 in order to fund the level of expenditures there. So I don't know if you may be increasing your economic development efforts, probably. I think I heard somebody talking about it when I was sitting in the hall, so that's what it takes there, and it works out in the budget fine. Employee benefits, that one you can see the cash balance in top number, you can see the cash balance dropping off each year based on the claims. Now, I doubt we spend in that middle column, I doubt we spend what we had budgeted last year. You know, $2.5 million, we'll probably spend $2.2 million, so that cash balance probably won't drop as much as I have anticipated there, but just to be safe, That's gonna levy 4,861,000 compared to 4,545,000, so that's one you don't wanna get caught short on, because it takes a while to recoup money to cover increases in costs that you don't know what it's gonna be. Extension Council, top of page 10, levied there to give a budget of $215,800. Health Department, last year we transferred in some money from the mental health fund, closing that fund out, so that came in. The tax levy there was $282 compared to $394, probably because didn't need as much money in the fund to fund the budget because of that cash transfer in. We brought in $281, so it kind of serves to lower the mill levy a little bit.
So, you're transferring that 281 out?
The 281,094 came in 21.
Right.
And you look in that middle column, the cash balance went up to 534,000 in that fund. So you want to keep that cash balance up there at that level, but if you're comfortable with the expenses as budgeted, you shouldn't need it. Now next year it'll probably have to pop up a little bit to get back up to where it was before. Historical Society on the next page, hospital maintenance down at the bottom. Order to fund that balance. It got a little more motor vehicle tax in 23, so the taxes levied went down a little bit. Had $2,995,000 next year. Library at the top of the next page. Based on the dollar amount of appropriations there, we need to increase that tax levy a little bit. Went from $1,086,000 to $1,299,000. Library employee benefits at the bottom is pretty close to what it's been before. Mental health at the top of page 13. That was the fund that we got closed. $281,094 came out of it and kind of getting closed out. But then there's some money dribbling in this year that actually go back in that other fund too. That's the other side of it. Last year we had to close that fund out, so the tax money's still coming into this fund. It'll probably get transferred over to the what's the name of that fund? Health Department. So I suppose we can leave the budget as is. I think we just leave it, but whatever money, I guess, comes into that mental health fund, you'll move it over to the health department?
No, we had to create a separate fund for it. What happened was, we had, so what we had for crosswinds was combined in the same fund with what was the mental health fund for the health department. And so there was so much confusion on who gets what, so Lindsay had asked that we transfer that money into her fund, so we did that. So now we've created a separate mental fund.
So, okay, so I'm backwards. We didn't close the mental health out, we separated it.
We separated it,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Sorry.
Because it does have it, on page 13, the mental health does have a tax levy for it now for $99,000 of expenditures. Noxious weed at the top of page 14, its cash balance looked like it was dwindling down if they spend as much as budgeted there. So we've increased the taxes levied there to $626 from $418. Special bridge, that's the one we just did a correction on, and you don't have that correction, but that $23,000 should be $2.3 million.
That's how it was in the book too, was 23,000, so
Oh, okay.
he caught that.
Yeah,
that's a big
I didn't think
difference.
Wayne would like that.
Found our money.
Yeah.
So, Loretta, what's that bottom line number again on that fund?
Expenditures?
Yeah.
3,564,800 expenditures. And the tax,
In place of $1,287,800, okay. Tax required,
tax required is 2,250,577.
okay.
Delinquents 1,575.
1,575, so that makes a total of
252, 152.
Okay. So I believe that will fund what he has. I know last year we kind of went through details of long-term bridge projects he had going, so I think he's got to have that money for those things. Mental wellness, top of the next page, levy's about the same as what it has been. Page 16 is just some non-tax levying funds. We just show the money coming in as budget authority in the out year to spend it all. Page 17, same way, you got the special noxious weed fund that you transfer money to, use it at the end of the year if there's any monies left over in noxious weed, and try to build that up for your capital equipment needs someday. Emergency telephone, bring in 64,000, spending about, last year we spent 82,000, so it went down in cash a little bit, so eventually, I don't know what your expenses are running now. Eventually, it may need more money than what it's getting. Everybody else I've been to is collecting more emergency telephone tax than what they're spending, so. I guess we'll deal with that when it runs out of money. Tourism and convention, next page, solid waste. Solid waste, I think we cut that middle number to 184, 147 in order to have enough cash carryover and fees coming in to fund that 343, 125 budget. Now, chances are the fees will come in higher this year and next year, hopefully, than what we have projected. So if it gets another 35,000 each of those years, that's another 70,000. So it should be fine. Jacobs Creek Sewer, the budget authority to spend that. Rural fire, that's a separate little budget packet, but the numbers come in on this page, and we levied $1,070,000 for 22, and we're levying $1,073,337 for this year. We cut the expenses in that middle column, 991. We had more than that budgeted last year, but in order to carry over enough cash to fund a budget of $1,210,000 to stay within their revenue neutral rate. So I suspect that he might spend more than 991, but I doubt they spend $1,210,000 in the following year either. So they should be okay. The other pages are just non-budgeted funds, and all that shows is just the 2001 activity. It doesn't show any budget for 22 or 23 because of just that. They're non-budgeted funds. That goes for a number of pages. And then we come back to the, well, probably the one you're looking at says notice of budget hearing, but there's no page number at the bottom. You go a couple more pages after that, you'll see page number 26, and that's back to the summary where we started. So with that change on road and bridge, we're sitting at how much, Clarita?
55.494.
55,494?
Oh, wait, that's with my,
No.
that's with the plug number cut.
Yeah.
So that's with cutting the 215,000 somewhere, or
Yeah.
219,946.
I think we're at, what, .338 more than 55,494.
Yeah.
You took that out, what's it come out? Okay.
55.833.
55.833, and you need to get down to the 55.494. So that was cutting one of these numbers, 220,000 basically.
Question, Jared, on 6, wind farm pilot, that's the same as last year's. Shouldn't that be increasing each year?
It could very well be.
Wouldn't it be? Isn't it supposed to?
Well, last year you collected 252, so 235 I think is what we had in the budget we did for 22, and we left it at that number. So if you have a better number, I mean, we could take it 250 or 255 or something close.
That number's supposed to.
So if you get a little, what we need is a little more income somewhere or a little less expense for the 220,000. So that might be one place to get some of it.
It's supposed to increase each year.
Okay.
Let me pull up and see what.
not a creek very much at all.
Computer works slower than mine to work now.
It never does.
If you go back to page 6F, under community improvement, I don't know what your plans are in that department, but you can see you spent $325,376 in 2021, and we have a pretty healthy number for this year and next year budgeted. So that could very well be where you simply cut that number back to get back up to 220,000, whatever left we need. That'd be the simplest way to get the thing in balance.
Yeah, I think that's just a projection for the stuff we was trying to do with the different towns. Just trying to build that back up, build it up for the improvements, but one person can pull it back.
So, why are we having to cut expenses?
When we made that $2,300,000 correction on road and bridge, that made more mill levies, and we were 55,833, we need to be 55,494 with a 5 mil revenue neutral rate increase.
Can we just cut that correction back? Bridge, yeah.
You can do 2,000,001 or whatever.
Cut on road and bridge.
We'll fix this revenue number, and then maybe we're at 180 or 190. We can do it that way too.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's a place to cut.
Okay. And you got flexibility. If you ran short somewhere over there, you can always take some out of the general fund.
Exactly.
I agree.
Well, that's simple enough.
Ta-da.
What are you saying our mill levy's gonna be?
We were trying to hit 55.494. Last year it's 52,761. So
52,761?
yeah. So as far as a mill levy increase, you're only looking at what, 2.7 mills. But your assessed valuations went up from 622 million to 650 million, which, you know, you got more value, more property, you should get more tax dollars, but because of this tax lid law, you don't unless you go through this process. So, if you're in fact levying 2.7 more mills than last year, just as a point of reference, a $100,000 home, it's valued at 11%, that's $11 a year increase for a mill. So 2.7 times $11 if you have a $100,000 house.
$29.
Yeah, so that's what you'd be looking at in dollars. Like I said, you can do it that way right now, print it, and then, I don't know, what date would you have your actual hearing? You can always cut it.
So in a sense, we are gonna raise taxes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, we can't.
either.
I'm a little bit lost or maybe confused, or that our message, which you may not be aware of, that the message on our jail project is no.
No, it's not increasing taxes to the jail, but it is increasing taxes.
It is increasing.
Yep.
Some of the people over in Franklin County and them who lowered mill levies and then turned around 2 years later and
Had to really raise it back up.
got
to me, it's common sense.
Well, I mean, I understand the common sense part, I really, truly do.
The scary thing
I
is,
understand that part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
the scary thing is what the cost of commodities, I mean, when you did the 22 budget last year that you're working in now, all your costs have went up and we don't have them budgeted
Right.
necessarily, so you got those costs to eat plus whatever next year might be.
Everybody else's cost.
You probably cut back on some projects, probably. If you want to cut in 5 mils, we're looking,
It's quite a bit,
So,
well, if you look at page 26,
if you're right.
and you look down at that assessed valuation, you find that number 650, 727, 773.
It's about 3 million.
Yeah, it's about 3 million.
253,000.
How much?
3,253,600.
That's how much you'd have to cut out of the budgeted expenses.
and then would we be capped next year?
That would mean in 2023, you're levying the same dollars as you did for this year, 22. And that's what you'd be stuck with next year unless you went through a process and raised it in. So,
That's the thing that is,
and this year and next year, this, what happens is the county clerk then has to notify the taxpayers by August 10th of any taxing district that's gonna potentially increase their mill levy or their taxes. And there's a lot of them that did just this, they put a provisional out there that I may increase at 5 mills, they may end up at a budget hearing and do nothing, or something in between. Your hearing before August 20th. And, what else is my thought on that? Oh, the cost of that mailing, the state is paying for this year and next year. And after that, if you so chose to do this, whatever your cost of mailing that out to all the taxpayers would be borne by the county. So if you wanted a few more dollars, you're gonna get a few dollars minus the cost of the notice.
so would the 22nd of August be a good date?
That's fine, August 22nd, okay. And so, if you so chose to do this and raise 5 mills, at that August 22nd meeting, you actually have a meeting to exceed the revenue neutral rate. You pass that, then you pass a resolution, which there's a template in the budget packet. You don't have it, but there's a resolution that it just gets filled out and passed, and then it's a resolution you pass. And then you have the budget here. Well, and then you have to remember, you have to record a vote of the commissioners, name and yes, no, and that has to be attached to the budget when it gets sent on up. And then you have your budget hearing, you pass the budget. So it's a few more steps in the process. If you somehow wanted to cut that back and get to the 50.494 mills, we need to find $3.2 million in cuts somewhere, and then you'd have to have your hearing before August 25th, which you already got set there. August 22nd will work either way.
A person can find where to cut 220,000, but when you go and start cutting $3 million, that's a lot.
Very tough.
Pretty tough.
That's a lot.
And then you're capped.
Then you're capped.
Yeah, we're capped unless you want to go through the hearing process again, like what we're talking about here. You can raise it, but you'd have to go through the revenue neutral rate process again, and then a number of taxing districts that you're gonna be mailing out to taxpayers, the school district and whoever can say, I'm potentially gonna raise, from this to this. And I've done several of those cities that we did 5 mills on, and we maybe in the end don't intend to do that. The other thing is, even if you didn't want to raise the mill levy, if you don't go through the revenue neutral rate process, you're stuck to that 50.494 mills. And if for some reason come November, this is just an estimated assessed valuation. If come November it goes down, you get that times 50.49 mills, you may get less dollars than we have budgeted. A few of them, almost all of them I've seen actually went up come November, and yours did too last year a little bit. But there's no guarantee of that. I have had a couple that went down and they got cut a little bit.
So are you seeing this kind of across the board? Everybody's raising
A lot,
it because of
yeah.
the expenses?
Most
that are out
of them,
there?
I mean, maybe 75% of them. Like I said, just the cost of commodities, when you think about road stuff, cost of keeping good health, and personnel costs,
Just inflation itself.
yeah.
Everybody's sighing.
Well, like I said, you can say, okay, let's go with this today and do the publication and potentially a 5 mil increase and look at the budget a little closer, and you can kick it around and after it's published.
But if it comes to budget hearing and the hearing can be done.
You could have public outcry. I've never seen it happen, but you could have so much public outcry, you come in here and
Right.
if they
So-
and you can show where you can cut the numbers down a little bit and still provide your services, then you can lower that.
So me, I'm in favor of doing what we're doing here because I've seen too much, been here long enough to see this, when you start cutting mill levies and all this, what it does, turns around and does to you.
Well, you've lived on the same dollars for years. All the costs have been going up every year, so eventually you can't, it just doesn't work.
Well, everybody says quit spending. That's what the.
Quit wanting.
They wanna use up fire, they wanna use up police protection.
You don't like chuck holes?
Right, yep.
You want the amenities?
What time for you, Phil, on that day, the 22nd?
Normally, I don't come to that hearing, so
Oh,
I
okay.
think we
That's
have
right,
it at
that's
10
right.
a.m., I think, 10:30.
10:30, is that?
You just need to make sure if that's the date that you publish in the paper, that that's the date and time that you
Right.
actually have the hearing.
Yeah, and we have to do a motion to approve the 2020 Coffee County budget for publication and to set the budget hearing for August 22nd, 2022 at 10:30 a.m.
That's what you need today.
That's what we need to do, make a motion.
Mhm.
So move.
Bob moves.
Second.
Don second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
We'll make those two little corrections, get you corrected and sent back,
Okay.
published. Appreciate it.
But you'll put this in what, a book form later?
You'll
We'll,
get, yeah,
I'll get a new copy back to Angie and
And you'll have a book copy of all of it.
copy of all of it, yeah. I don't usually bind it in a pretty book, I can if you want me to. I will come back and do deliver the audit, so maybe I will come back on the 22nd.
okay.
If you just put the audit on there, it should be fine.
You wanna look at
Yeah,
this?
they're in the hallway waiting on us.
Oh, there, okay.
Yeah. And we gotta stay pretty darn close to time-wise, because Christina's gotta be out of,
Raymond.
yeah, Christina's gotta be out by 11:30.
We're going to bring them in.
Yeah, I guess bring in Kristen, okay, bring them in.
I have something I'd like to, I pulled up the video and it's glitching a little bit, and so some of the words aren't being caught. I would like to be able to reboot the server. You guys have a break scheduled, so if you take a break, I'll run down, reboot the
Oh,
server.
revert server.
Yeah,
Okay.
shut it off and take a break, and I'll reboot
Okay,
it.
we just gotta be with Christina at 10:30.
Okay, 15 minutes, it should be back up. I'll come back up. and
That's
it's
not
ready to
gonna
go.
give,
That's not
but
gonna
the
give.
regular commission is 15, and they're 7:30.
Okay, but it is glitching, you know, a little bit. Let it glitch, okay?
I guess we'll have to stay on schedule. Yeah.
Yeah, just stay with Christina, she's got a meeting at 11:30, she's gotta be at.
Call me when you want to take a break and I'll go reboot it. Okay.
Chris Henderson.
He was gonna, how about if you want to?
It's up top, it's up top, plug your laptop into it, he said. Or plug it into your laptop. probably just drop it to the ground and bring it around the bottom side. You can
You
sit
can
in that chair
if you
back
want.
there if you want.
Sure.
Wade's not here, we're leaving Wade.
I don't even know if the TV's on or not. See anything lit up on it. I don't know if that TV's on or not.
There's a remote.
Green light's on.
There we go. Break it, shut off one of the two. Nope.
There we go. There we go. All right, perfect. All right, are you guys ready?
We're ready.
All right, so just want to introduce myself. I'm Chris Henderson. I represent the Nuclear Regulatory Commission at Wolf Creek. I'm the senior resident. Susie with me here on site at Wolf Creek. He's actually on a rotation out at Callaway, so he's acting as senior resident at Callaway right now. So let's go ahead and get started. Just a quick overview of what we do as the NRC, kind of a quick history, and then over our process of how we determine, Reactor Oversight process, how we determine what level Wolf Creek gets for inspections and how their performance has been through the year. And then we'll just give you a quick assessment of Wolf Creek performance, and then we'll just open up for questions. So, our mission essentially is to license, regulate nation's civilian use of byproducts, source special nuclear materials to ensure adequate protection of the health and safety of the public. So basically, we're here to make sure that Wolf Creek operates within the regulatory guidelines to ensure health and safety of the public. So we actually regulate reactors themselves, commercial, research and test of new reactors, the fuel, radiating materials for medical, industrial, and academic use, and then also the transportation. And then from a security standpoint, we make sure that there's security posture at Wolf Creek and make sure it protects the plant from internal and external threats. We don't regulate nuclear weapons. That falls underneath the Department of Defense. We also don't regulate the Navy's use of their reactors. I am a Navy vet, so we did that all ourselves outside the NRC. And then we don't own or operate plants. And then a lot of the other stuff like radon, X-rays, materials produced by accelerators, that's taken care of by the state or other agencies. So like Kansas does a lot of this since they're an agreement state with us. So the Nuclear Regulatory Commission came about in 1974 under the Energy Reordination Act. Before that was the Atomic Energy Commission. It did both the regulatory and promotion of nuclear power through the Atomic Energy Act in 1954. They saw some issues with that, so we got broken up into the Department of Energy and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. So we're getting close to our 50 years of existence at this point. We have 5 commissioners that are on our board. We're an independent agency. They're appointed by the President, confirmed by the Senate, and they're in staggered rotation, and the President picks the chairman. So right now, we have 3 commissioners, 2 are in the process of being approved, going through the approval process. Just a note, you can only have 3 of one party on the commission at one time. So you can only have 3 Democrats or 3 Republicans. So there is a limit to, can't have all 5 be from the same party. So we're roughly about 26 to 300,000 employees scattered out through the country. We have 4 regional offices. So Region 4, where Kansas is at, that's down in Arlington, Texas. That's where our main office is. And then the headquarters office in D.C. And then we have 1 for each of the regions. We're kind of broken up geographically themselves. And the white dot there, that's our training center. So before we come out to the site, we get full training. They've got a simulator. We go through all the technical aspects of reactor technology and stuff before we can get out to the site. So we go to an extensive training process. It usually takes us between 1 year to 2 years to get it all finished. And then this is obviously just a quick map where all us residents are at and all the sites.
So usually run around, the biggest unit, most is Oconee and Palo Verde, they have the most. Resident site. So just to give you an idea, we all live in the community. I actually live in Lawrence. My wife works in Stormont Vale, so her commute's a little bit shorter than mine, but she works 12-hour shift. We drive in, we go through the same security process. We attend the meetings, their plan of the day, so we're aware of what activities are going on. Then we go and do our own independent assessment, walk down to the plant, anything we come up with or identifies issues of concern, we'll go ahead and bring it up to plant management. And then every quarter, we issue an inspection report. So that's all to the public. So the reactor oversight process, that's basically what we use to determine the plant performance and what type of inspections they get. So we have strategic performance areas, which includes baseline inspections and the performance indicators. So one is, how many times has the reactor been tripped offline? And we feed that into the action matrix, will give you the what column is. So basically we have our cornerstones of safety, initiating events, that's kind of what we were talking about, reactor trips, stuff like that, unplanned down powers. The systems used to mitigate accidents, we take a look at that, and then also what the main stuff to protect the barrier on there. And then we also have individuals that come in from our radiation protection group that look at public safety from radiation safety. Then we have emergency preparedness. We'll talk a little bit about our roles, resident inspectors for emergency preparedness, how we work with the county, state, and so forth. And then security, we have the security inspectors make sure their security group is meeting the requirements. And if anybody has any questions, feel free, you can ask. You don't have to wait to the end. So, taking all that information, we take a look at the significance of our issues. They're based in color. Green is the least significant issue, and as you go up to red, it's the most significant. So based on the number of significant issues you have, if they're all green, where Wolf Creek is at, they are in licensed response, so they get baseline inspections. So roughly, Wolf Creek, it's about 3,500 hours of inspections each year. As you go down the columns, you get more and more inspections, and then you also get more and more engagement from us, from more senior management visits, more branch chief visits. I actually, before coming to Wolf Creek, I was the senior at a column 4 plant. My branch chief came out every month, and then our senior executives came out almost every quarter and had discussions with the site when they were in that site. So there's a lot of scrutiny on a plant when they get to that point, and a lot of inspection hours. Oops. And as I said, Wolf Creek is actually in column 1, so they're licensing response, so basically is baseline inspections. There'll be some regional, and the majority of it done by the resident staff themselves. Our primary responsibility as residents is actually emergency response. So if something happens at the plant, we are the first individuals that show up from the NRC on site. We are the technical experts for Wolf Creek for the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. We understand the site, the system, the procedures. So we'll be the first ones at either at the site itself, if we can get to the site. If not, then we'll be at the Emergency Response Center up at Vito Junction. And we'll probably end up being the first focal point or discussion with the county ourselves. The minute Wolf Creek does go into an event type posture, they do establish direct communications with our headquarters office. We establish a line, so I actually have it, but from a personal on site, myself and John are the first two, until we actually get relieved from the region. So, just for everybody, everything that we do, inspection reports, the inspection procedures, speeches from the testimonies to the commission, the speeches by the commission, press, it's all available on our website. You know, the only thing that's not available is security. Obviously, those are sensitive. Those aren't available publicly. They're controlled so that no one gets access to that information, since it is very sensitive to the security side. But everything else we do is public. So that's the number you can reach us at. And I'll open up for any questions.
So all in all, it looks like to me Wolf Creek's done pretty darn good.
I haven't had any, yes, all their issues have been really very low significance, so great.
You know, Wolf Creek had a trip last week. What was involved in that? Did you, were you involved in that at all?
Actually, I was heading home from the store at Sam's, in Topeka. I got to the exit at Lawrence and they called me at 6:30 saying that they tripped, on the rack based on a low level in the steam generator, one of the steam generators. So the safety systems worked as they expected. I got to the site, verified everything went as they told, all the information I provided, and then just assessed plant safety. So there was no, impact to the health itself, health and to the public itself. So we're still evaluating what caused it from our standpoint. We're watching the station how it does it, because the prime portion of the reactor oversight process is the licensee's corrective action program. So we'll take a look how they deposition it, and then we'll do an independent assessment ourselves as they go through. And then we also assess how they performed in the corrective action program. So we're still gathering facts on it.
Checks and balances.
Exactly.
Nope. You're gonna have problems every now and then. It's just, you try to minimize as many as you can.
You got any questions, Carl?
No, I don't.
I know I don't.
I know.
Just keep
Keep
it
it
turning,
working.
just keep it working.
Well, I don't make that decision. I just make sure that they operate safely. That's my primary responsibility.
Just keep them working safely.
Yep. All right.
Very interesting, thank you.
That,
Thank you.
and I was gonna say, you can always reach us up into the office number, and you can get everything we do on our public website.
And you're at Wolf Creek all the time, is that what did I hear you say that?
Yes, I am permanently stationed at Wolf Creek along with John Vera, so every site has permanently stationed residents. We live in the community, depending on what our wives do, this is where we end up usually living. So my wife is a registered nurse, so she's on a 12-hour shift, so it was, does she take the hour drive or do I take the hour drive? She's like, you don't work always 12-hour shifts, so. So every one of us live in the communities that at the plants we're permanently stationed at.
Is there a distance that you have to live within?
Our response time is usually about 2 hours.
Oh, okay.
So as long as we can respond within 2 hours, so, I actually am originally from Kansas. I was raised up near Fort Riley. My dad was stationed there. I'm a Kansas State grad, so this is kind of coming back to home for us, for me and my wife. So, yeah, if I go to Manhattan, I can actually be down here for about an hour and a half if I had to. So, also, we don't live that far north, because that would be a long commute every day.
Right on.
All right.
Very well.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for the update. You wanna get a hold of Brad and have him reboot the server? We'll take him, 12-minute break. Take a break till 10:30. Sound good? Then we'll call Christina. You got the number for Christina, or do you want me to put it
Yeah,
on?
you've got it.
You want me to put it on my phone or the
Probably
office
that.
phone? Okay.
I think, unless you feel like you can hear better over there.
I don't think she's gonna be Zoom wise. She's gonna be phone.
That's the only reason I was here.
Yeah, for the.
Close the door over
So-
there.
Yeah, so if you feel like you can hear better, that's fine.
It don't matter to me. Everybody else. Let's see if we can get our pieces of paper out, don't we?
Is she on for a full hour, isn't she?
Yep. All right, we're, well, Angie's not back yet. She's gonna be on here.
Is this
It should be in your book.
In the book.
is she not doing any of this in executive session?
To my knowledge, no, I haven't spoke with her.
Wade's gonna be in here.
Wait, I'll probably be the one that'll be having more say.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's public information, it's handed out to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it has executive session, we wouldn't have it in our hand right now.
I guess that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, way to be aware of that.
That is true. It's in our books.
None of this is executive session, because we'd have it, we wouldn't have it.
We wouldn't have it, you're right.
In our book.
Yeah, that was passed out here a couple, 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
Well, if you're gonna discuss details of some of it, though, you might have to go in.
Yeah.
He'll be right here.
We'll go ahead and get her on the phone.
Find out.
Christina Dietrich with HR Partners via telephone live. Marcia, is Christina available?
I can check. Can I tell her your name?
Coffee County Commission.
Sure, let me get her just a moment.
Thanks.
Is your phone last an hour?
Yep.
This is Christina.
Christina, Jesse Knight, and the board, Coffee County Commissioners. We're waiting on Wade. I'm gonna write a country song about that one these days. So go famous.
That sounds good.
Somebody will have to sing it, 'cause I couldn't carry a tune in the bucket.
Old pal.
That's one of my faves.
There.
I can write a good country song.
Wade has arrived.
Wade has arrived.
Okay, great.
Can you hear us?
Good morning, Wade.
Good morning, Christina. How are you?
I'm doing good.
So the question for me, my understanding is whether this needs to be done in an executive session, right? I think, Christina, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, a general overview of where things are, as long as it does not get into substantive issues that we have discussed in executive session related to the audit, I think is fine. And that's my understanding of what you're gonna be doing today.
Correct.
So I think it's fair to do it here.
Yeah, I just thought it would be a good idea, now that we have been engaged with each other for a certain period of time, to give a status report back to the commissioners on where we're at on these respective projects. So, that was my purpose in putting this respective spreadsheet together. And my emphasis on the priority list and the ones that were highlighted, because a lot of things were identified within the audit that needed to be, quote, taken care of or analyzed or looked at. But the ones that I chose to attack first, I did so for compliance reasons. They had some legal tie to it, more so than the other things that were identified.
Okay.
And as the respective commissioners are aware of, when it came to the payroll and getting that into compliance with accurately reflecting people's paychecks on direct time instead of anticipated time, we kind of hit a snag with that because, we were going the monthly route, and the expense of transitioning gave a little heartburn to all of us, and then it was decided to look into the biweekly option, and unfortunately the survey results came back with kind of a split vote on what to do there. And so I know if I were to recommend to the commissioners again to look at this again, is instead of going from the 15th of the month to the 14th, is to do what other counties that I partner with do, is go from the 25th to the 24th of the month. And that would mean the transition would have less of a sting when it comes to, the transition. It wouldn't be 9 days, it would be more like 3 or 4 days that we would have to make up.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first thing that we we tried to, you know, accomplish an end result, but we had challenges in that area. The second thing that, of course, I was responsible for and give you a status report on that is the employee handbook. What has been the challenge here, there's only been one challenge, is, you know, I want to put together for the respective commissioners just an employee handbook, not a procedural manual, which is what you are working off of right now. That 200-page document is, not only is it an employee handbook, but it's also a procedural manual. I think it's in the best interest of Coffee County to administer an employee handbook, which can be distributed to all employees. And if Coffee County still wants a procedural manual, that is something that you can make changes to and you can administer. The reason why I have been challenged with the procedural manual, and this is my opinion based upon, you know, engaging with Coffee County for the last year, is that it's not always consistently administered the same across the board, which I'm of the opinion if it's not administered the same across the board, that creates a little bit of angst to me for Coffee County to continue to use that, you know, document. So those were the two things that I have been working on, but unfortunately I haven't gotten a resolution. I do have an updated employee handbook, which is not a procedural manual, that I can send to the commissioners this week. I just wanted to have this conversation first to make sure that we're on the same page, that the commissioners were not seeing a procedural manual of 200 pages, but an employee handbook of less than 50 pages. And then the other things that were identified as priorities, I don't always have control over those, but I think that they're significant enough that the commissioners need to be aware that these are things that need to continue to be looked into or pursued, but I don't have that power to do anything with these. There's other people that have the responsibility to look into it more in depth.
Okay.
So that was my whole purpose in putting this together, to further assist the commissioners in making business decisions.
So,
And just to be also honest, once the priority aspects are done, the rest of this list is pretty easy to get accomplished. I want to emphasize, we took on the two major projects first, and these other ones are important, but once you get these two done, meaning payroll and or the employee handbook, the others will fall together pretty quickly. So does anyone have any questions?
Christina, this is Dawn. You know, the number one on this summation, you know, there's 20 of these line items that are number one, there's 11 that's number two, and 7 is number three, but, you know, all the number ones evidently are very, very important, but yet you're only picking out 2 or 3 of them that are critical.
Correct.
As I'm following you.
Yes.
So even though the other number ones are important, they're not as critical as what the 3 or 4 you're picking out.
Correct.
You know, some of them that we was talking about employee files, there's 3 different line items, I'll call them line items, break out, but there's 3 of them, and there's, you got a separate medical record, you got the drug deal, you got the testing, but over on the right-hand side, these need to be maintained by either the clerk's office or the administrative assistant. There's 8 of these categories that you're suggesting needs to be either held by the clerk or administrative assistant, and yet there's 3 other categories that you recommend the clerk to take care of.
Well,
Can the clerk take
management-
care of all them, or do the one that's got the clerk office or administrative assistant, or does she need to handle the 8 that's in that split category?
When you look at the records management, what I'm asking is that the commissioners need to make a business decision. Where do they want those records to be?
And those 8 items I talked about are those 8 line items.
Correct. And I'm looking
Can-
at
can
them,
those be
they're all
split?
records management, or am I correct in that? They're all records management.
Christina, this is Bob. Why wouldn't we want those in the hands of our official secretary?
Every county houses their respective records differently. And so it's up to the commissioners on where, I can't even start, putting together a records management, system together for the county if I don't get direction on where you want them to be housed. Do you want them to be housed in the clerk's, office? Do you want them with the administrative assistant to the commissioners? I have one client, and who's a county client, and they have it with the treasurer. And the treasurer is doing the payroll, which is completely legal. So that's why in that section with the status, when I get to that, arena of trying to corral the records, the number one thing is basically telling me or telling the county, representatives, this is where it's going to be from this point forward. Now, the one thing I will say about, being in the administrative assistant to the commissioner's office, it's a non-elected position. And hopefully there will be more, supposedly some stability with that respective role. But I also have it in a lot of clerks' responsibilities as well, too.
You just said what I was thinking. The clerk is an
Well,
elected.
and it's one of those, that's a business decision, but you are a little bit different than some of the other counties that I represent, that you do have an administrative assistant to the commissioners. And that is a full-time job that is non-elected.
That's exactly my point is, we do now, and I'm not planning on getting rid of Andrea, but there comes a time when there may not be an administrative assistant, but there will always be a clerk.
True, absolutely. And the one positive thing about having it in the clerk's office, as many of you are aware of, the majority of clerks throughout the state of Kansas administer the payroll and the benefits. So having those respective files near them is not a bad thing. But sometimes I have clients that make the decision to have the records somewhere else for more checks and balances.
Which in some cases could be a plus, but hopefully it would never be an issue.
Correct.
Hopefully it'd never be an issue here.
Correct.
Well, I think personally, the clerk's office has, probably 85% of the information already for payroll and everything? Why not just move the rest of it there? Or have the rest of it there? Instead of uprooting the whole system.
It's gonna make it
I
hard
think
for
the
us to do our
majority
job.
of what is in their respective files is about payroll and benefits. If there is documentation that is not there, it is probably more in the disciplinary, area, because the leaders within the county, if they are supervising, staff, may have their own files when it comes to this. I don't know who has the medical files.
It's in the clerk's
doing
office.
workers' compensation, FMLA, any ADA request, et cetera. Wade, are you familiar with who has files on that?
Should be the clerk's office.
Okay.
So this has been an ongoing issue, and who has what personnel file-wise, and let's use an elected official, for example. When an elected official moves on, one way or another, what happens to those personnel files in that office? Do they transfer over to that next person? Now,
Yeah.
they should, but if you don't know about them, then you could have somebody who has had evaluations or been disciplined or whatnot, that with the next person that takes over, that's completely erased. I don't think that should be the case. I don't think that's how it should work. But you're also operating with an elected official, and I think that process, if that is occurring, is problematic in my mind.
It should be the office, not the person.
I understand that, and that's how it should be. Is that how it is? I don't know. So personnel files that involve evaluations, involve discipline, those type of things, it might be, in my opinion, beneficial to have those separate from all the others. And that may be, you'd have to decide who that would be with, because those, those should be under lock and key just like anything else. They should be put on a server that only certain people have access to, because you can do a lot of damage with that type of information. Not that the other you can't, because, medical and payroll and those kind of things, if that gets in the wrong hands, you have other consequences. You have HIPAA, different things like that. Should that be in the clerk's office? I don't care where it is, but it needs to be under lock and key, so only certain people have access to it. You need to define who would have that access, because if not, there's the potential for significant damage to be done, and I would not be in support of that at all.
Do you have capability of housing that stuff, being in the county attorney's office?
You could set up an administrative server. I think what probably should happen is all documentation related to evaluations, discipline, that type of thing, they be put into scanned and put into an administrative file that only certain people have access. And anybody who accesses anything with our IT department, you can backtrack and see who's done what through what IP address. And if somebody wants to, try to breach what Coffee County has in place, then they potentially expose themselves to criminal liability, which would be a felony if they do something unauthorized. Now, is that fail-safe? You would hope so, and I think Brad and Adam can set something up that way, but you would have to define who would have access, and I would encourage you to not just give those rights to one person. You need to have it to two people, so that somebody is checking on somebody else. I mean, I think whoever is in that role and has that responsibility, when you guys sign checks, you have three people sign it, and that's for a reason. So there's not just one person who has the ability to write a check for the county. That's my opinion. I don't know if you agree, Christina?
I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care where it's housed. It's just, I can't teach the person how to do it properly until I know this is where we'd like it to be. And I've already given the leaders, when I went around and met all the leaders one-on-one, as well as in discussions with updating your respective policies, that this would be something that we would be, attacking at a certain point in time. And just like Wade getting probably 15 to 20% from these leaders when it comes to disciplinary type of notes. And I'm not saying that they can't keep their own files, but they also need to keep, you know, their original personnel file up to speed as well too.
Not necessarily change the subject, Christina. On the proposed handbook you have put together,
Yes.
Wade, have you had an opportunity to look at that and to make any suggestions on maybe a change or two?
So we've been discussing it, we've discussed it several times. I think the issue is originally, and Christina, correct me if I'm wrong, proposing to change the handbook into 3 different types of handbooks. I think having an employee document so that employees can have that handed to them. I mean, the current version is cumbersome, to say the least, and to have employees have the ability to know what applies to them, I think is important. We've also talked about having an orientation for new employees and then either an annual or biannual update. Not that anybody wants to go sit through that, but I think it's important that employees understand what their rights and responsibilities are, what they can do, because in my opinion and in my experience since I've been here, a lot of employees don't even know how to navigate through if they want to file a grievance, if they want to make a complaint of some sort. They have those remedies available that they don't know. When I got here, you guys were handing out a CD, and people would sign off saying they looked at the CD. I'd go into a training, and I said, who here has opened up that CD and looked at it? And you'd probably imagine not very many hands went up. That's why it was recommended the manual be put online. I think it should be put online so that there's no excuse that somebody should have that they can't access that. If they don't have a computer, then they ask somebody. So the employee-only document that Christina's talking about, I think, is important. Now, does that mean everything else goes to the wayside? And I know, Christina might think that the best option for the county is to go less. I'm all about the details, as each of you know. And if it's not in the details, then I think it's problematic in my mind. There may be a middle ground, but I think having a department head or an elected official portion where they have the administrative ability to look and navigate through.
And I agree with you, Wade, on that. This is an employee handbook.
Sure.
That procedural manual is fine for leadership, but it should not, that same document should not be distributed to everyone within the county.
Well, as an employee, you'd want to know that the department head is doing right by the handbook that they are given.
The employee handbook and a manager's handbook are like night and day.
Well,
Meaning, one is more procedural and the other one is policies.
But Christina, the policy portion of the administrator manual would be accessible to employees.
It would be the same. The best way to describe both documents is they're mirroring each other on the policy side, but you're going into way detail on, like, for example, how to recruit employees. And if the county wants to have the same document in the hands of employees and leaders, I have a philosophical difference on that. In 30 years in HR, I've never done that. And I don't represent any clients who are doing that. So that's the big thing here. If you want to continue to have the 200 200-page procedural manual in everybody's hands, I may not be the person to help you or assist you with that, because I disagree.
I firmly agree it needs to be about 3 pages long personally, but,
Well, and I
for-
cringe that
for
we're
everybody.
getting it down less than 50 pages. I will say, here's the good news, gentlemen. This employee handbook draft that, of course, Wade and Angie and the commissioners have seen, we're 95% there. I mean, we're in agreement with a great deal of the policies, and many things are not changing. The biggest decision that the respective commissioners need to make is more in the line of, the sick leave and the distribution of that sick leave, as well as, this magic 160-hour issue. Are we going to continue to have that, or are we going to discontinue that? Are we going to get a short-term disability policy? Those are where the biggest business decisions are going to be made, is right there. Everything else is it's similar and right on target, and it's not a big change.
well, I believe we have a short-term disability policy.
We're gonna talk about today, and if you guys approve it, we're good to go.
Okay, but we already have one. We already have
Well,
we already offer short-term disability
it's available for employees to
for
purchase,
employees to purchase.
but this is, I think what she's talking about is
Right.
the county providing it for all
For
county
the
employees,
employees, yes. No, I agree. So the milestone we need to jump through today is to see where we're going to have the records housed. Is that gonna be a catapult for you to move forward, Christina?
Honestly, I wanted to know more so, are you okay with me just doing an employee handbook
No.
and not doing a 200-page, administrative manual?
Okay.
And I can send that to you ASAP, the
I-
final version, or the final draft version for your review.
Right.
And then when it comes to the housing the records, that would be nice to know that, just because I can move towards that as well too.
I mean, I think everybody pretty much is in favor of the employee handbook. At this moment, I don't know, do we need to, what do we need to do?
She was gonna give us a draft.
A draft.
The draft.
Right,
Let's
right.
look
So we
at
can
it,
look
we
at
can
it,
approve it or not approve it.
dissect it, then we can approve it or not approve it.
Yeah.
And then Christina, on the other priorities, when do you want to see that done?
I would like to see it done by September 1. That will give the commissioners enough time to go through the respective document. I know we're gonna have some more dialogue on it, and then it can be approved, and then we can talk about how we're gonna get the word out to the respective staff, how we're gonna distribute it and get employee acknowledgement forms signed off on it. The good news is, I know the commissioners have seen, 90% of this document. There's only gonna be a few changes, based upon, the meeting that I had with Wade and Angie. And then there's one big decision about, the sick leave, and how we're gonna restructure this because of the short-term disability policy. But yeah, I think we can get this done by September 1.
Well, I think it's general consensus, let us see the rough draft of the
Okay.
Handbook.
All 3 pages.
Yeah, all 3 pages, please. I'd even take front and back, so.
Good to know.
I know I've said from some time, Christina, that our policy manual, it's, like I said, it's 3 or 4 times more than what it should be, so I'm looking forward to receiving what your handbook shows.
Okay. I know the commissioners who have been, at the meetings, the leadership meetings, have seen what we have put together. It's not gonna be dramatically different from what you have already seen.
It's been needed for a long time. Go for it.
Christina, it's Andrea. Just while you're here, I know you and I have talked about, and I have forwarded it on to the commissioners, about the policy or the insurance liabilities for the random drug testing. If you're looking at a September deadline, if there are any changes to that, would that be the effective date, or would this be like an effective January date? Just because with what we had talked about, and Jesse, I know you were saying how, you know, anyone who drives a county vehicle to be live, but at this time, like we had discussed, only departments under appointed officials are necessarily in the pool. So right now, it's not a county-wide employee pool as it is, and that's what we were trying to talk about as far as liability, because right now, we're kind of drawing from a small county pool because not all employees are in it.
And people get picked more often
Right.
than others, so
Right.
because that's the whole part about random. The more people you have in it, the less individuals get picked.
Right,
Because you
so,
got more fish to catch. But I'm still a firm believer in if anybody drives a county vehicle, they need to be drug trained. That's the way I feel, that's what I feel.
Or you don't
Maybe
drive
that's-
it.
Maybe that's 30 years in the trucking industry, but we're liable.
Does Nylander have something to say about that, though?
I don't have anything to say about it. I reached out to the Kansas Association for Counties to see what legally we had to do, and based upon the general counsel's feedback, he basically said a lot of the positions within county employment, it's a business decision whether or not you want to put them in the random pool. Just like Jesse said, I understand Department of Transportation CDL drivers are required by law. But then, once you get out of that category, it really is a business decision who you want to have in the pool or who you don't want to have in the pool. And right now, most of the counties that I represent have their CDL drivers in. And I will say most of law enforcement still opts in.
But Christina.
And they want to do that.
Christina, you know, little Susie just hired on. We don't know nothing about little Susie. She wants to take she's on the appraiser side, she wants to take the county vehicle out to look at Joe's house over here to appraise it, and she's all cracked out.
I hear ya.
I mean, we're liable for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm just saying, that's a business decision if you want to do, or do you do pre-employment as well too? Pre-employment and random?
yeah, yeah, and post-accident.
And then we check we're running everyone through driver's license at the.
So it's one of these, now keep in mind, random is only quarterly, right?
Yes, that is correct.
And then not only is it only quarterly, I think what Andrea is expressing, and what I've noticed over the years, it always seems to be the same people who are not your problem children.
Well, because the pool is so, there's only so many fish in the pond.
Exactly.
And so if you put more fish in the pond, you got a better chance of catching the fish. I mean, or not being caught.
But I also I don't have it in front of me, but it can get cost prohibitive having all these people within the pool, because I think you get not only charged with them being in the pool, but also you get charged for the people that get pulled and then are actually taking the test.
Correct.
And you also need to keep in mind, you do have reasonable suspicion, and so your leaders should know your staff really well, and if they're a suspect of anyone getting in county vehicles, you know, irregardless if they're in the random pool or not, if they have reasonable suspicion, you can test them at that point in time too.
Doesn't those individuals have to go through a training, reasonable suspicion training?
No.
What to look for? They don't anymore?
I mean, I know that those are offered, but rarely when we have, you know, administered reasonable suspicion for our respective clients, we just have to show that we have probable cause in order to do that.
Well, heaven forbid you cry wolf and it's not.
Well, it's happened. I can tell you many, many stories where, you know, that's the problem with reasonable suspicion is sometimes the people that are, you know, calm, cool, and collective are higher than a kite.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that are erratic not always the best route, but most of the time, reasonable suspicion is administered where, we have absenteeism problems or performance issues, and we have the policy to back it up that we can do it.
If you don't include all your employees in your pool, any discrimination there at all, Christina?
No, as long as you have a business reason why you have eliminated, if you go department by department, you say, we're gonna make a business decision on law enforcement and road and bridge are the two departments that are gonna be on the random pool, you're fine. But you have to be consistent within that respective department. You can't pick and choose people in road and bridge. Does that make sense?
Yep, I can understand that part of it.
Yeah.
I thought maybe, we got a lot of different departments, and,
Yep.
so there's no issue if you pick out 2 or 3 departments, and they're the only ones in the pool.
Correct.
But then the complaint's still gonna come along, we're getting pulled every time.
Yeah. I had that problem at the co-op when I was there.
Yeah.
Had a 72-year-old driver, he got pulled 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah, exactly.
It was totally, he didn't mind doing it, but a little bit unfair. I don't mean to shift gears again, Christina, but we got performance evaluations. There's a number 1 and a number 2, and I've made this comment several times, that we haven't done our evaluation of our non-elected department heads. What's the other counties do in this position? We got non-elected department heads that we may see once a month on a presentation, and we may see once every 3 months. How do you do a true evaluation on those department heads that has some value to it?
No, that's a good question. The majority of counties that I represent, the commissioners are not doing performance evaluations on their respective staff. They're direct reports.
That's the way I've looked at it, but I know if
The challenge with performance appraisals or just performance evaluations in general is, just like you said, it's a lot easier to make an assessment on someone's performance if you're with them on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, you gotta work with them side by side to know what they're doing and how they're performing.
Exactly. So it can be a challenge.
It's not that I don't want to do my job, but how do you evaluate doing it and do it where it's fair and there's accountability to it?
You bet. And, if the respective county were to make a business decision to start doing evaluations on all staff, my biggest recommendation is training would need to happen with the respective leadership team in order to have consistency on filling out those respective documents, because I just have seen too many counties who do evaluation processes, and it comes back to haunt them legally because they say that this person is great, and then they end up terminating their employment, and they have all this documentation in the file that says they're great.
Well, the problem, Christina, we used to do that, but then we had some commissioners who decided that there should not be any criticism whatsoever in evaluation. Everything ought to be perfect. So just what you said is just what happens.
Yeah. No, I just tend to be in the camp of providing feedback to your respective direct reports on a regular basis verbally. And if you need to start doing some documentation on, their respective performance, if they're having issues, that's when you're putting together performance improvement plans and not, just having a form on an annual basis and checking some boxes and signing it and putting it in a file. It needs to be substantive and provide real feedback.
Honest feedback.
Yes. Honest feedback.
Billy is bad. Billy was a bad boy. So today, I know you've got a meeting at 11:30 to go to. the handbook,
Yes, I'm gonna get that to you this week.
if we made a decision on what needed to go where today, would that help as well? As far as
Absolutely.
these yellow,
I mean, you can talk, once I get off the phone, and talk amongst yourselves and make a business decision, and send me an email, you know, where you feel like the records management should be, and then I can move forward on that.
okay, drug screen pool, right?
Yeah, drug screen pools, that's up to you know, to continue business as usual, or to make a change on that.
The real-time pay,
Real-time pay,
is that something we could?
that's up to the commissioners as well too, if you want to switch out, I mean, are you gonna stay monthly, or are you gonna change the payroll structure? If you stay monthly, I'm suggesting, you know, changing the dates, not from the 15th to the 15th, but the 25th to the, or 15th to the 14th, but the 25th to the 24th.
Right.
But that's something that, and I know Angie's in the room, you know, she needs to be consulted on this in regards to, because the you know, counties that I work with, and that's the challenge, is all the counties have different, you know, systems, technology to administer their respective payroll. And so, you know, whether or not, you know, changing those dates and having that quick turnaround time can be done.
Right.
Is the 25th a date, pardon me, Angie, is the 25th a date would work with you and your department? You know, originally, we was talking about the 15th.
Right.
But now it sounds like that Christina would be better, the 25th would be better for, I think, too.
Yeah, it's just, we're gonna have to,
But that's the date you'd work with, and not go.
so right now, most timesheets are turned in by the 18th, 20th, or 22nd.
I think you're looking for a calendar or something.
Yeah, but I know I can't see it. So, depending on the month, they're turned in the 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, or 22nd. So then that's real time. But then it's that last week that's not real time. So
It's average, or not average, it's just estimated.
yeah, estimated. So
But if we go 25th for real time, you
if we
can
went
make,
to the 25th,
February'd be a quick month, you only got 3 days there to work with, but.
yeah, if we went like on the 25th, I mean, if it's on a good long month where we've got a full week like this month, or is that July? Okay,
Yes.
yeah. Then, well, it's too late for this month, but like
Right.
on another month where we've got a good long week that we could get that in, we could, and then you just have to maybe pay those 4 days to get us on schedule.
4 to 5 days, 3 to 5 days.
Yeah, 3 to 4 days, and then we could move on from there.
I say go for it.
So
Yeah, I think it's something we definitely got.
It's a hurdle we've been wanting to cross, or needing to cross for.
Well, it's gonna skin some knees, but you're just gonna have to do it, because this estimating their time
You're
is a disaster.
you're losing money.
Yes,
I'm sure,
yes.
by estimating.
Yeah.
A lot more.
I don't wanna reinvent the wheel, but it
Right.
needs to be
But
done.
she's suggesting from the 25th to the 24th, so.
Yeah,
Oh,
so,
I see, okay. No.
so we would cut off, and then
Yeah.
we'd pay employees for those 4 days to get it on that schedule,
Yeah.
for those 3 to 4 days, or whatever it is.
Okay.
But that's something you could do a little work on in the background, and report back to us in a
Yeah.
week or two, if we could initiate that in August or September.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then we need to decide whether to do it every 2 weeks, or, I'd like to stay monthly myself.
Yeah, I think.
Even though the split was kinda split
If we can
even.
move it to the 25th and then stay monthly, that'd be all right with me.
That's kinda my target.
It's just if it'll give us enough days to get payroll turned around by the last day of the month. So let us look on that, but we'll see what we can come up with.
You've got a little time
In
to work
August
on.
would.
Yeah. So you're gonna wanna sign Monday, so that gives
Yeah.
us 2 days to get payroll done. I mean, we could do weekend work and just do overtime to get it done. because we have to have 2 days before the end of the month. Can we look into that a little bit more, Christina?
Absolutely, that's why, the more I thought about it, Angie, and after talking to the other, counties that I work with, it's working for them, but I wanna make sure that it works for you.
Can you give me a
Because
county I can
every, county is using different technology products.
Can you give me a county I can contact and just ask them
Sure.
how they're getting it turned around and what their pay date is? Maybe it's not till the 5th or something?
No, I will send
Email
you
me.
their information, I'll give them a heads up that you may be calling them.
Okay, that sounds great.
That's cool.
Are you still considering the payroll software? I know there's payroll software is one thing, and then the other thing is the time clock component, and those were put on hold. Because one of the issues is the number of times the paper has to pass on from one person to the next, and inevitably mistakes will be made, not intentionally, but I think having something on a computer screen where the employee is responsible for entering their time and maintaining that is, I think that's important. Then they can go in and see log in from anywhere and deal with it at that point. You can also have benefits put on where people can go through and deal with their benefits that way too, and that was discussed.
I truly think accountability is a big thing,
I do too.
and I believe it's for everybody.
Christina, in other counties that you represent, do they have their payroll set up to be online? I don't know if you know what PeopleSoft is, that's one I'm familiar with.
Yeah, one of them just did that, and so I'm gonna give Angie, one of them is Nemaha County and the other one is Ottawa County. That will give her different perspectives in regards to how they're administering it. But I will say Nemaha County, I think it's a similar structure, the 25th to the 24th, that they just implemented time clocks about a year ago. And they had some angst the first couple months, but now people are used to it, and overall it's been a good experience. The challenge has been with just certain employees that are, I call it, they're more on the go, and that's your, road and bridge crew and, some of law enforcement, et cetera. And then the Ottawa County, the reason, I don't think they have time clocks right now, but they're on the 25th to the 24th. So I'll get that information to Angie today, so when she's ready, she can contact them.
Okay.
Well, this has been helpful, this has given me direction, so I will send the draft, of the employee handbook to the attention of the commissioners to review. I will also, send, Angie some information on other counties that have made the transition, to this payroll or used the time card system and done that transition. And if the commissioners can solidify where the records management will be or housed, then I can start working on making sure that all the documents are where they need to be.
Right.
And then I also need some feedback on the drug screening and what you want to do.
Yeah, I've got that wrote down, short-term disability, sick leave,
Yes.
and, drug screen.
Christina?
And then once you see the document on the employee handbook, I think it'll be clear, at that time, the discussion on the sick leave and the short-term disability.
Christina, drug screening, the commissioners, I think that we all do it, but the drug guy told me, said it didn't matter if you test positive anyway, there's nothing they can do about it. So why are we wasting our time?
I don't know the back end of that, but you're making sense.
Yeah.
That, yeah.
So why are we doing it?
Even if you were to test positive,
I've tested in 2
there's nothing,
years
then
3
nothing you
times.
can do about it.
Yeah, so I mean, are we wasting money by the commissioners doing it, or any elected official doing it?
Like I said, it's up to you. I sent Andrea, and I'm assuming, Andrea, did you send everybody verbatim what Jay said at Kansas Association of the Counties?
I did, I just copied and pasted
Their
that email.
okay.
But I think the issue isn't that the not having elected officials in the pool, it's an elected officials department. So it's the whole department that's not in the pool, which is why there's fewer county employees in the pool, because it's the entire department. So when the same people get called up, they're like, well, I wish I worked for a department that opted out, which is.
Yeah.
What's the big deal? You go pee in a cup.
Right. Well, because sometimes it takes somebody till morning, they're down there for hours, they're like, I just went to the restroom. They're like, well, sorry, so now that you're here, you have to go, or you were in violation, because not going is the same thing as refusing to go, or it's.
No, they will work with you, because it's happened before.
Right, but not everybody has to deal with that, so they're like,
Right.
and so it's the same people when they come up over and over again, they're like, this isn't even random, I come up every time, whereas not all county employees have to deal with, okay, well, I could be down there for 2 hours waiting to go to the bathroom. So when the same person gets called up again, they're like, again, well, that's not an issue for all county employees.
They're paid for it. It's on the clock. Drink lots of water.
Well, but once you're called, you can only drink so much water too, because you get a diluted sample is the same as a positive sample.
Well, no, they'll resample. They're supposed to resample, diluted, resample, calls for resample, but I don't know. I've got my thoughts of drug screen, so.
Well, I will send some information to you. I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you.
And I appreciate your feedback, so I will send you an updated draft of the employee handbook for your review, and I know we'll be talking again soon.
Okay, any other questions for
Okay.
Christina? Forever speak now, forever hold your peace. Have a good day, ma'am.
Okay, you too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christina.
Bye-bye.
Well, got a few minutes before the next one.
Where's most of the employee files, held out now? Stay in your office for Andrew?
Payroll room.
The only thing I
Does
have.
Road and
is,
Bridge have theirs?
Yeah.
At one time I heard,
That-
I
they-
understood they kept theirs and you didn't.
Well, we still have their personnel files, but there's things that should be in the personnel files that they keep down there, so.
I think they'll need to be housed up here.
I'm sorry?
I think they need to be
Secured
housed here.
area.
I think they all need to be housed here.
So now I have the drug files because I get the results for those.
That's a whole different, to
That's
me,
a whole
that drug's a whole different ballgame.
Whole different deal.
Right, that's a whole different deal.
Anything that has to relate to write-ups, changes of any type need to come back, I firmly believe, to the clerk's office. And if they get scanned and put in a server, then that's fine as well, but you still need to have, I still feel you need to have a hard copy somewhere under lock and key, or.
And we do get some of those that we just put in the file, but not all of them.
I guess that's gonna be a wage guidance, maybe?
Once you determine how you want that done, because I think if a copy ends up in the clerk's office, to follow the person, because somebody's terminated, they may take action against the county, so somewhere you have to have access to these documents so that the county can potentially defend itself if needed. But you also need whoever is in charge of that department to have the ability to access that information as well, and they may need to do so on an ongoing or immediate basis, especially, so I've worked with different department heads on the disciplinary process where they have a long-standing paper trail of history of disciplinary action that ultimately led to a letter indicating your time has come. You are gonna be, you have the opportunity to either resign or you're entitled to a termination hearing. And you have to have everything lined out And if somebody has that file, let's say that department had left, nobody knew about it, and then that employee continued on with that behavior, how do you take action against them when nobody knows anything about it? And that, I mean, all you have to do is hit the delete button. So that's a problem in my mind. And there has to be checks and balances internally so that that cannot occur. There's a prior example of somebody having access to records that they shouldn't have, and that's a problem. All those things need to be ironed out so that you have defined people who can access, and I mean, so for example, if it's me, you better believe that there ought to be somebody watching what I do. Not that I'm gonna do anything wrong, but we're all human, and you know, if Andrea is watching what I do, goes in and a second signature. Angie, whoever it is, checks and balances all across the board. Not that you should have to worry about people internally, but I mean, internally you have to have that. That's why you have defense attorneys, why you have prosecutors in the judicial branch. It's checks and balances.
You said something that I wanna get away from.
What's that?
This individual has been wrote up 1 through 5, 10, 15 times. And then you said it comes to a point in time, it's termination, or they can go through a termination hearing.
Yep.
Termination.
That's
termination.
Policy. So you have to, I mean,
You've had shots fired. Shots have been fired many times. It's termination.
It may not be in the new policy manual that way.
I hope it's not.
I understand what you're saying, but I mean, that's what's written in the policy right now.
Right, that's what I wanna get away from.
And it's somewhat of considered like a property right, but as you know, under Nylander, any elected official, they don't have to go through that process. Right. And they can say, get your paper box, grab your things, today's the day you're gone. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. They can challenge it, but it's not gonna go anywhere.
So with that, all these department heads work for us, and we're elected officials, so they're under elected officials also. So everybody in this county, works for the county, is under elected officials, one way or another. So we have that same right as, boom, you're gone. You don't like it, don't work here.
Except for the elected officials that we're talking about are statutory, the clerk, the sheriff, the treasurer. The
commissioners aren't statutory?
They are, but they're under a different, so if you go look at the statutes that deal with elected officials, then we'll use the sheriff for one. The statute specifically says the sheriff can hire, fire, promote, and then it goes on. And, you know, that's what Nylander was all about. The sheriff in that case had fired a subordinate deputy, and then that employee summarized comes to the commissioners, and the commissioners say, no, we're gonna bring you back on, and that, you can't do that. So that is different. The commissioners don't fall under that same line of thinking, because they don't have that same statutory authority to hire, fire, promote. I mean, it's pretty specific. The county attorney's even a different.
Anybody but elected officials.
But elected officials, it ends up being a tricky. I mean,
so any department head other than elected official can be hired or can be fired by the board of commission.
Well, so those individuals are appointed by the board, so the board has the authority to handle those appointed officials as they see fit.
Clarification.
Where it's housed, my opinion is it should be housed in the clerk's office, not necessarily the clerk itself, but the clerk's office, which would put the clerk in charge at the time, which would change over time. And I think that the county attorney ought to be the other person in it. And one of my thinkings on that is, those two officers were elected by the majority of the public of the county, and they put their trust in them. I think that's where they ought to be. And if we have administrative assistant doing if that administrative assistant is gone on vacation? Where's it at? Where if it's in the clerk's office, Wade can come in, and I'm sure that someone else in that clerk office will know where it's at, and Wade has the permission to get it.
Or if you put it in a computer, Wade's got the passwords to get it.
Got the password.
I think you ought to have IT responsible for an audit, so that either quarterly or, I mean, monthly, there's an audit of who's accessed what, because
That's no
that's where you
problem.
that's where you get in trouble, and that there needs to be an explanation why somebody went into somebody's personnel file, just to, I mean, including me. I just went into Andrea's personnel file just because I wanted to see what was in there. That's not an appropriate reason to go in. There has to be a legitimate reason, so there needs to be an audit so that everybody's held accountable, even someone in my position. So that if that was presented to you, you can say, what legitimate reason did you have? These are people's personnel records, disciplinary records, and there better be a damn good reason why you're going in there. If not, you have no business going in.
Just trolling's not working.
That's where internally, the employees who are part of this county need to have confidence that people are not accessing and misusing their information for nefarious reasons.
And you said IT would audit?
I mean, we need to, I'd suggest we talk to Brad about what that would look like, but auditing internal access shouldn't be an issue.
I agree.
Because all they're doing is auditing the access, they're not auditing what's in it.
All they're
No,
seeing is who accessed it,
accessed
from
it.
what location, and keeping a paper trail.
Checks and balances
Yeah.
is fine. I like that.
Yeah.
So we can talk to Brad about what that would look like.
Mhm.
Do we need to vote on this or anything?
I think we just need to get the ball rolling for Christina to
Yeah, I
know where
think
the stuff's going.
She'd like to have the information
Yeah.
first possible.
I think right now you're in what Don would call the discovery phase, so we need to see what's there, but you've given some, insight and direction on what direction you wanna move forward, and is my take.
Okay. Are we done with the HR partners? It's 11:32. Well, I guess we got until 11:45, I'm sorry, I forgot. Would you like to speak a little bit on short-term disability?
Yes, I
While we
will.
got just a few minutes?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Carl's been sitting here all morning
Sorry,
doing
Carl.
nothing, so.
No problem.
Let's get him up here and do something.
Sorry, sir. Sorry, Andy.
And you're all right. You'd already seen this, but what it is, I'm passing you, giving you a copy of the contract with Pentagon Health. We've been looking and talking about electronic health records in the health department since I come on board as health department administrator. We do have our own funds to pay for it.
Fun from where?
What it is from CARES reimbursement money. We have money that we got back from reimbursements during the COVID response, and we got money sitting there that we can pay for the first year of the contract, which would be $49,989.80. If we pay it all up front on the yearly, we have $66,129 in that account. We're just going to use that pool to roll it all towards that, so it'll reduce our payments over 5 years.
And yearly payment is what?
Yearly payment after that, after the first year, go back one page. In the second year would be $15,412.80. We have all of that. We've already built that into our budget for next year. And that'll continue to be billed into yearly because there will always be a yearly fee.
Is that just an update fee?
Yeah, basically what it is anything that occurs, this is all a cloud-based system. I talked it over with Brad, and he said all indications are this would be a great system because it's cloud-based and it wouldn't take up any of our server space or any switches or anything of that nature.
Well, I mean, and all your new updates and software
Yes.
stuff would be automatically, but if it was an in-house based software, then you might run it for 3 or 4 years on your own, get the latest update, and then get rid of the annual
Right.
membership.
This is all cloud-based, and as things upgrade, because this will integrate with the state on two different programs. we use with the state, which is WebIZ and Daisy, and 2 of our programs is within Daisy. And what this will do is allow us to just transfer everything electronically with them, and it'll populate. It'll also increase our efficiency with our billing with their insurance companies, so when we make, it'll automatically autofill, and it'll automatically send it to them after Jennifer reviews it.
What's truly the biggest benefit from this, entering into this, Carl?
For me, one of the things I hadn't mentioned yet was the main reason is that it's going to have a patient portal, so that anybody that wants to come to the health department, that they don't have time to give us a call, like say if it's in the evening, they can get online, and they can access through that patient portal, which is secure, to where they can make an appointment with us, and then we can confirm that appointment for when we're going to be here. And 2, it increases our efficiency, so maybe we can reach more out in the community to do more things, because we won't be filling grant paperwork out manually. This will be an auto feed system, to where all we'll have to do is then just push a button and it'll transfer to the state of Kansas for our reporting, especially like for our NCH grants and our family planning grant. But this is money that we have set aside.
It's all CARES Act money.
Yeah, it's all CARES Act. Reimbursement from CARES Act spending is what it is. And we have it budgeted for the future already written in, for the reoccurring cost. And we just need your permission to go ahead and move forward, since it was over $10,000 expenditure.
I would move we accept this payment and authorize the health director to sign all documents with and so forth with the agreement and any communications.
We fully believe it'll help us attract more people in that we need to serve, because we'll be able to do everything they could do through they have an iPhone or, and everybody would.
How do you get that information out to the citizens that they know that's available?
What we'll do is in October, after we sign a contract with them, they're gonna come in and do a 4-day training with us. As part of that, then we'll have a public information campaign that we'll roll out with it, how they would access it and how they would use it. So even if you're somebody at the library, you can go in and use the internet access to where you could use the patient portal and come in. It's like many of the healthcare systems are right now, are doing, and they have patient portals where you can go in. So even a Coffee County employee, if they lose their lab results when we do blood draws, would be able to come in through this portal and be able to draw that back out and print that off themselves. It's just stepping up into the electronic age. We did go visit 2 other health departments and talk with Miami County and Franklin County. We did look at another system, it's called Nightingale, or also Champs, but we didn't feel like they give us the better options that Patagonia did. Champs also talked about where we'd have to do monthly trainings with them, whereas Patagonia will answer our questions anytime, but they're going to come in we'll have to close for 4 days, but they'll come in and we'll do an intensive training session, and on that 4th day, then we'll go live, and we're going to do that in October when we're in flu season, where we can really push the system and see how it's going to work for us.
Get everybody in there and get to working it, that way it's fresh in their mind. And
Yes, and Nightingale didn't offer that either. So we did look at 2 companies.
Bob moved to allow the Carl Lee, Health Director, to enter into contract, spend $49,989.80, which is CARES money.
All second.
Question, so this single source provider?
Yes.
Okay, so I think we need to make sure,
Single
because
source.
under the purchasing policy, I want to make sure there's no issues there.
But he said he did get a hold of another entity that.
Yeah, we did. That
was not comparable to this.
Right.
So did they provide?
They didn't provide us a bid at the time. So, we just liked this one so well and what they was offering us. That's why we went with them.
Okay.
We feel like it gives us more advantages to interact with the public.
Isn't that kind of like professional services?
That's what I was thinking. It is, but if there's other providers, and you just mentioned that Franklin County and what other county?
Franklin County had Patagonia and Miami County had Nightingale Champs.
So there are other providers that provide a similar
Product.
but how many times have we just went out and got somebody because it's professional services and never went anywhere else?
I understand, I'm just mechanically. Going through it in my. Man, I guess you're saying what they provide is different than what these others provide.
Yeah, Nightingale didn't have the patient portal.
Okay. And the other one is Franklin County that uses the same.
Patagonia.
So you're confident in saying that this is a single source provider that provides something specific?
Yes, we also believe they'll give us better training.
How long can you stretch the CARES money out? Is there a time frame on it anymore?
What this was reimbursement money. We had used that money to spend, we was reimbursed, so it was set aside in a fund, the reimbursements was, and we was gonna use it all to pay up front on this, on the EHR, for the system, for the first year.
For the first
year. Yeah, because we'll actually reduce those yearly costs when we apply that, but I was gonna wait until I got approval, and then they'll approve that.
I couldn't remember whether there's a time limit on using the CARES funds or not. So.
Right.
Carl, I have a question. So are you actually paying it out of the health department fund?
Yeah, it was reimbursement. It was CARES reimbursement money is how it's titled.
But it's money that you put into the
Yes.
health fund? Okay, so we need to say we're paying it from the health department fund.
Right.
Contractual line item?
Don't have that with me. I didn't write that down. 425, maybe. Capital.
425, it'd be capital outlay then,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
Bob moved, Tim second, any discussion? Hearing,
As long as wage comfortable.
as long as Wade's comfortable, everything fine?
I think he's indicated it's a single source provider, so that's what.
Single source, best source?
Single source.
So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thanks, Jimmy.
I don't need a signature on any of this, do I? It's all you, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll just get your copies if you want it. If not, I'll take it back.
Get that handbook from Christine and you might
I wanna read it. After we prove it, I wanna read it.
Information.
Mr. Bobby Skipper, 1145, sir.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Wait a minute. I found it.
I would like to ask commissioners to go into a 35-minute executive session.
35 minutes?
We have interviews at 1 o'clock. We have to do.
I originally requested 45 minutes, but then it was shuffled by somebody,
Okay.
and down to 15.
So you wanna go, what did you say you wanna go? 45?
Well, whatever y'all are comfortable with. If you want to stick to your timeline, I'll just talk real fast. So you have, how much time do we have?
Well, it's 11:45.
It's 11:44 now.
And slipping away.
Do,
20 minutes?
Okay.
just,
Whatever you tell me.
you want to go get us some Subway or something, and then we can go to the kitchen.
Yeah, good.
And we can probably have the time he needs,
Mm-hmm.
and we would be
Then we'd
here.
be already
We
here?
would be here for the, whatever.
Okay. I agree,
That-
I agree with that.
Is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay. How much time do you need? We'll take care of that, we'll take the time, and then we'll break after that before 1 o'clock.
You need 35?
You need 35 minutes, 45 minutes?
This 30 minutes will be fine.
Time's ticking away. Executive session, for 35 minutes.
With
30
our,
minutes.
with our county attorney,
Grab the credit card, so I'll-
with Carl,
For what purpose?
for land acquisition. Discussion on land acquisition, with our county attorney, our health director, commissioners, and myself.
Okay.
Our health director, you say?
Yes, sir.
Carl Lee. Okay, 30-minute executive session, board, county attorney, Wade Bowie, health director, Carl Lee. Executive session, land acquisition, we will enter, or, all in favor? I'll move, sorry.
Second.
I move.
Whatever you say.
Bob, second. Any discussion?
I think it needs to say preliminary discussion regarding land acquisition, so it doesn't sound like it's
Yes.
a discussion
Yes.
about
Oh, okay.
Yes.
land acquisition.
Acting on land acquisition.
With the correction, all in favor?
Aye.
We'll go in at 11:48. Switch is on.
And just discussing with our attorney, there's nothing that needs to be moved on or approved by the commission because nothing's being executed until a later date. So,
No action taken.
no action needed to be taken. Our county attorney will proceed to prepare.
Okay. Very well, thank you, Bobby.
Yes, sir.
We want to go on break before 1 o'clock. Recess till 1 o'clock.
Is there a couple things I could address
Oh,
with you?
okay, sorry.
Just real quick. Okay, so we got had a meeting.
Yeah, we can do
We had it.
I wasn't trying to interrupt.
No, it's okay. Take it, pass around. So Richard and I met with Jeremy with Gallagher, our consultants with our insurance company. And we met with the guy, the company is called Guardian. And it was a good meeting. It's pretty much cut and dry. They'd originally given us 4 options, and the first 2 were not self-insured. And so then the second 2 were. And the reason I'm showing you Plan 4 is because after talking with Chris at Guardian, the duration of benefits is 26 weeks instead of 13 weeks. And 26 weeks will get them to their CAPERS, short-term disability. And he was recommending that we go that route, and plus it was cheaper per employee. And they will do, just like how our current medical insurance is, they will, they will tell us how much to pay. They will do the administrative support of providing the explanation of benefits, the date the disabilities should start, all the calculations, and the tax reporting, because it's going to be different when that particular person might get a W-2. It's a 2-year rate guarantee, but he said even at that $3.051 per employee, he said that if it were to go up, he said it would be like a fraction of a penny. So, and it would just depend on if they want to do weekly or monthly income replacement. They can backdate this to July 1st, but I need to let them know today if you guys will make a motion to go ahead. And then we'll do a monthly invoice, and then either ACH the money to them. So instead of them pulling it, we'll give it to them. Anyway, that was pretty much it, and so.
So it's gonna cost yearly per employee? No, okay,
This
so
would be
this
the
is
county's annual fee of $6,000.77.
annually. So with the money that we have, or could have, setting that $25,000 or $30,000 valued of, the pool leave, this could pay the premium for 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Or it could help pay the claims out of this as well.
What? Right, and so it's no different than if you continue to have the pool money going.
Right.
You know, this would just be the offset of that.
I don't know, so
And cheaper in the end.
Right, so everyone has already gotten, everyone that was wanted the short-term disability already has it. Is this something that maybe we should go into effect at a certain time? Maybe not backdate it to July 1, maybe bring it around to January 1?
Well, we want it to
Or-
run with our same benefits.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're gonna be doing all that.
Either July 1, 2022 or July 1 of
So
2023.
what, all these others that already bought, the others, then what are we gonna do there? Are we gonna reimburse them all?
At this
I'm-
point, I probably wouldn't, I mean, that was their choice to take it.
was their
because
choice, I
we
Well,
didn't-
we advised them though as well.
Yep.
Yeah, because we weren't sure what we were gonna get,
Right.
or if we were even gonna
Right.
get it. I mean, I guess if you wanna reimburse them, you can, that's up to you guys.
Or a person just wait till January, or to wait till July 1 of 2023 to implement this.
I'm not too sure that would be the best.
That would probably be the best, because
I mean, we've got to
you're gonna
figure
get
it
in-
out.
You're gonna get into a heck of a pot of beans if you start, okay, I want reimbursed, and I want reimbursed, and this and that.
But they knew it was under review at that time.
Yes.
They knew it was under review.
But they didn't know who was gonna do it.
Right.
That's their choice.
Do we know how many?
It's their choice.
Signed up for it already?
I don't have that number, but I can probably have
This
Terry
is,
look at it.
this is if all 166 employees.
Right.
This
And I know
isn't-
not
I
all,
was just curious how many people took it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know every individual's gonna take it. if-
No, I mean, what's,
They will
who's
be
already enrolled
offered
now?
prior.
I'll find out. and
Who's
we'll-
already enrolled now?
We'll find out.
The cleanest time would be next year.
I would say we're already
It's the clean- It's
into,
the cleanest.
we're already into it, we can turn around and maybe fund it a little more.
The fee may go up a little bit, but
And the fee might go up just a fraction,
It
but
won't be
I think it's gonna be cleaner if we just turn around
it
and
would be a clean cut.
do it July, whenever of 2023.
Okay,
I mean, shoot, we're almost 8 months into the year.
right.
Flying by.
Okay, so that was one of the things.
Yeah, but our policy starts July 1st.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll get that going. Another thing, we received our CARES money today.
Oh, sweet.
It came in, just got the notice, Richard said it was appeared in the bank, so we'll have that, we can keep moving on that. And then another thing I had was, I got an email from the hospital. They said at one of the recent commission meetings, it was decided that the Coffee County Hospital note payment was to be made twice per year and then revisited May 23. We have not received any documentation stating this change. Do you have anything yet? If so, can you please forward to me? I don't know if you want Wade to come up with something on that, or?
I didn't even.
It was supposed to be monthly. I think we turned around and put, they already did. So they already paid $33,000.
December was the first one.
And then they was gonna do the next one in December.
In December or January, and it's gonna be twice a year.
The next one, 6 months later.
Yeah.
And then we will look at it again.
I think that's what we agreed upon. There should have been, I don't know if there, I'm sure there was a motion.
Bi-yearly.
I know there's a motion.
Yeah.
I wasn't here for that, so there's I mean, I've got all the running documents where their promissory note has been updated, and then I've modified their, amortization schedule, so I'll need to do that. I didn't know that had happened.
Okay, yeah, it's twice a year. Their next payment was due in December. And then 6 months after that, 6 months after that, 6 months after that.
We're gonna review it after a year though. We just said for a year, two payments for this next year, one in December and then one 6 months later. And then we would review it.
Okay.
I don't remember the review date, you may be right. I remember was that first year or second year.
It should be in our motion.
So it's in the motion.
So has the payment amount changed, or?
Nope.
No.
Nope, we left the same. We're just gonna stretch it out many years.
Okay, I'll probably have to come back in and get the details so I can properly put it into the document, because then that'll have to be approved by you and then sent to the hospital board for them to sign. That's what happened last time it was updated.
So do we wanna approve this? Do we wanna approve this, or do we wanna wait?
I thought you were gonna wait till next year.
Yeah, but we need to approve it.
Do we need to agree to go into this right now, or
I
is
would
this something we
wait.
wait?
So
Okay.
if something changes, I'll have to.
Cause we'll have a new dollar,
prior
we'll have a
to
new
next year.
premium,
Yeah,
I'm sure. I'd probably wait till next mayor,
yeah,
or at the time the employees were enrolled.
okay.
But I think this is the best way.
That's a clean cut.
Yeah.
Good job. Thank you.
Even though they knew it was under review, it's still free.
I don't feel that we need to I don't feel we need to backdate it and beat it out this year. I still think we got it figured out what we're gonna do, this track we're gonna go on.
And we have the company.
Yeah, and the company and all is good.
Okay. That's all I have for the moment.
Okay. Tim, anything? Tom?
No.
Bob?
No,
Don?
I'm fine, Chester.
Me, I don't think I have anything. Andrea for roundtable?
Just really quick, the phones, or what they are called, phones are up in the elevator, so those are functioning. And then, there was a citizen who was concerned that the weed spray from the county was killing her, plants and trees. Wade and the intern and myself went out there and took a look. I'm gonna get a hold of, Darrell with the extension office to see if there's some testing they can do to see if it is spray that's affecting her trees.
Okay.
Because with the timing of it, she's concerned that that's what's causing it, is when they spray shortly after that. So I'm gonna get them to look into that, see what it takes to get that tested.
I should be able to get somebody out to pull samples, tissue samples of leaves and stuff. Wade, do you have anything for roundtable?
Several things.
Several things. Do we want to hit it on the end of the day?
You staying for the interviews?
Yes.
Yes. So, speaking of the interviews.
If we know we're gonna.
I know, that's what I'm thinking. We got lunch sitting, waiting for us.
Sure. These are sample questions.
Yep.
They're based off of the job description, so.
Which is more along the lines of what we've asked before.
Yeah. One question I have that's, I guess, not related to what you have in your hands. There's a report, I guess not a report, an invoice from Blackstone Environmental for the asbestos report. I don't know if that's been taken care of or not.
I haven't seen that.
Okay. So as agreed to, it's $4,100. As it relates to that report, I'm still waiting for the technical guidance from Blackstone on how to adequately or properly remove it, whether it gets pushed in or whether there's some way someone wants to salvage the windows. So before the RFP is updated, I have to have that technical guidance because it makes all the difference in the world. And, you know, in the report itself, it talks about OSHA and OSHA requirements and that type of thing. So I've had one contractor reach out and ask questions related to that, and just so it's in a meeting on the record, whatever it needs to be, that RFP is being updated. You already have moved the deadline so that that information can be added to the RFP because it has to be at this point. So I don't know what action, if any, you want to take regarding this invoice, but obviously it has to be paid, and I don't remember, I think in the motion it was indicated where it would be coming from, and I don't have that written down.
Put it in the voucher and take care of it Wednesday.
Okay. So I guess there doesn't need to be a motion because it was already approved, right?
Yes.
Right.
In this questionnaire, Wade, their second page is missing in this one. You got second page, Paul. No, we don't have a second page.
Oh, it goes from 4 to 16.
Yeah, it goes from 4 to 16. As long as you got it.
Yeah, so the problem is I printed it and I didn't collate it. And when I didn't collate it, apparently I didn't realize that was missing, so I'll get it taken care of.
Break for,
At the end of the day, don't let me forget, I do need to request an executive session. And it's gonna cover two related issues, but it'll be an executive session under attorney-client.
okay, very well. We'll recess until 1 o'clock.
Yep.
Where we got dinner setting at, Andy?
It's down in the EOC kitchen, some drug things. You need copies of something made, Wade, if you have the good copy, I can make copies and.
So we'll be back at 1.
We've lost him.
So we still need that second page.
There he is.
Came to the tune, waiting on Tim.
Wade's got to get us a piece of paper, doesn't he?
There he is.
I thought Andrea was gonna get it for us.
Quickly.
She said what it needed.
Now you made it up here just in time to go back down the stairs again.
Push me down the stairs.
Have you got the second page?
Yeah, I've got it.
It's all sitting on your
You got it.
table.
Okay, so we can get rid of this?
Well,
We don't need this.
so that has the job description with it, if you want that to reference. Should be the last several pages.
Is this candidate number 1?
No, time-wise, it didn't lay out that way for everyone. It's number 5, I believe.
Number 5 is first.
I move we go into executive session with the commission, the county counselor, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And candidate number 5 for road and bridge superintendent interviews.
How long?
30 minutes.
Gonna do 30 minutes?
30 minutes.
Could it be under non-elected personnel?
Well,
I mean, it's to fill that.
to fill that position, but they're not, yeah. Okay. Yeah, however you want to say it, that's what it's for. Yeah.
I mean, you gotta be able to go in and interview them.
Yeah, we gotta be able to interview them. That's what we're,
30 minutes?
30 minutes.
You moved, Don second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. We'll go in at 1:04 for 30 minutes. Don't forget anything.
Is it candidate?
I'm gonna run and check pressure, but I'm pretty good.
Y'all aren't gonna be waiting on Wade, you're gonna be waiting on me in the next one.
Maybe I don't have time to go, or are you going back?
We're gonna roll
Go
back
back.
for another
Oh, with this
15.
one, okay.
30 minutes is just not long.
Yeah. I've seen some candidates work for an hour and long.
Yeah. We're back. We need more time under the same header. Commission, Wade Bowie, applicant number 5 for 15 minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Tim moved, Tom seconded. We will go in at, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes, we'll go in at 1:38 for 15 minutes.
And Brad,
Well, we're running circles in there.
how we doing? You're holding up, I see, and
Trying
you're
to,
pretty
well,
good.
but we get this pile of mail in about noon, and you have to turn it around by 1:30, it's just impossible. You know, you used to get it at 9 in the morning and had till 4. So it kind of sits there around, we'll be all right.
Well, right now, with your job, you got my sympathy.
Oh, it's going fine.
Send the card. That's what he needs.
I only got yelled at once so far today.
Hey, that's good.
Well, several times, but it was all by the same person. next candidate is.
Would Andrew say number one?
Yes,
Somebody
number
asked.
two.
Huh?
Number two.
Number two?
This next one's number 2.
So she said.
Okay. I knew the other day had to do some switching around because.
We're gonna go 45 minutes?
Yeah,
Probably
might
should.
as well.
I think so.
Is Wade coming up here?
No, he's gonna stay down there.
Might as well save away.
And,
We might as well.
might as well go in, so
Yeah, your applicant's down there.
Okay.
stop on the road.
Need a motion, executive session to interview candidate number 2, road and bridge supervisor interview with county councilor Wade Bowie and the board,
And candidate two.
and candidate number 2.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Tim's moved. Tom seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We will go in at 1:58 for 45 minutes.
Wade's getting out.
Okay, and this is number 2, right?
Yes.
Go ahead, Gordy.
Here's my extra.
What's that, 5 minutes?
It's on the 7 or 8
7 or 8
minutes.
minutes.
Only her, we've got.
Still got 15.
Oh, come on.
Well, maybe we go back in for 8 minutes for same reason, same people.
I'll second.
Bob's moved that we enter into, did you say 7 minutes? 8 minutes, under the same heading, interview candidate number 2 for road and bridge. I'll move, Don seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes, we'll go in at 2:47 for 8 minutes.
You got 30 seconds to get there.
10 minutes to breathe. This is candidate number.
6 coming up.
So we did end up with 6 candidates?
You do these in alphabetical order?
No, I know, I should have had some kind of, yeah, everyone.
It's okay,
The times
Andrew.
that works best for everybody,
It
just kind of
doesn't
works.
matter.
And Wade staying down there again.
I'll be down there getting it set up, because otherwise I can run down there and.
Candidate was there.
Also move that we go into executive session for 45 minutes
I'll
to
second.
entertain, to interview candidate number 6 for the road and bridge supervisor position. And however you want to write that down, Casey. However it's been written down before.
Yep, I just copied and pasted it.
Don moved, Tim seconded. County, you say county, counselor and the.
And, I'm sorry,
and the
county
board.
council.
County council and the board, 45-minute executive session. Interview candidate number 6, superintendent interview. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, we'll go in at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
That'll be just working.
That way we can remember.
We're
back.
Or, well,
098.
I have a 098.
read it. Read it.
Mental health, mental wellness health department.
I'll go down and double check.
I know.
I'll just come back and see it again
Okay.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'll just.
and I'll be here for a second.
Okay, thank you.
I think we've got one more trip up and down the stairs.
Okay?
Can we use the elevator?
Sure. Ask yourself, you're in charge, not me.
I'm pulling up the rear. Wade needs the elevator.
Nope, I don't need to deal with it. All right, call in sick tomorrow. No. I get to sit in the truck all day tomorrow. Yeah.
Is it me?
I think we're round table with you, unless Angie's got some more stuff.
We'll have one other thing.
Okay. You wanna take care of it now before we go to another executive
Yeah, we
session?
can. Let me, Brad wants to talk about that audit we're gonna have for elections, so, Brad?
And I've got my budget sheets to hand out too.
We done spent all the money. Yeah, sorry, you're out of money.
Shut the departments down now.
That was reduced last week.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've already done the budget, but.
$10,000 a
I
day
can call and change
deduction.
it real quick. Okay.
Brad, you got something for us?
Yeah, I just wanted to, we got 3 of you that have been through that before, but 2 of you that haven't, with the ballot audit after the election, our primary elections on the 2nd. And on the following Monday, between then and the following Monday, the Secretary of State will tell us races that we're gonna audit. And then we'll have to draw the precincts. And I wanted to make sure we blindsided Tom. We didn't mean to, but we did a couple of years ago, and showed up out of the blue and he didn't know what we were talking about. So I wanted to make sure when we show up, we'll be on your agenda on the 8th to come in and select those precincts. The short of it is just that when you vote on these machines, your vote goes to the computer. Then it also prints that card, paper card, and then it scans a picture of that paper card. And to test the reliability of the computer, they randomly assign races to us on the national and state ones out of Topeka, and then we have to draw the local. It has to be a contested race. They'll tell us what order they come in. It's going to be one of the county commission races, because that's all we have local that's contested, that's countywide, or I mean county district
We do have a
level.
township, I think, don't we? Or a precinct.
Precinct, but those, yeah, those aren't, they aren't gonna audit that, they won't count that. It'll be one of the commission races, and so they'll tell us probably the order which one to do, and then we'll have the names of all the precincts in a box and shake it up, and we usually put each of them in there 3 or 5 times or something, so it's not just can't just bend the corner on one, and but and then we bring in a board that's got Republican and Democrat members on it, train them how to do it, and they go through and do a hand count on that election and compare it to what the computer said on election night. And so far it's always matched up, but it's just there as a safety thing to check that reliability of that. And so if we show up in a couple of weeks with a box, because we're going to be running around like chickens still by that time, we didn't want to surprise you. That was very unfair to Tom when we showed up and just hit him with that out of the blue. So I didn't want to make that mistake again. Sorry about that still.
No. No, I was just trying to understand, it's like, what the heck?
But that's what it is. They tell us you got to compare the paper or the picture of the paper with your computer to make sure the computer's not making a mistake or something.
Add or subtract.
Yeah, and if there's races that are within 1%, they'll probably make us do more. If you have one that's nip and tuck, they might make you do more precincts. And if we come in there, and it's possible you go in there and the dog eats one of the ballots or something, it hasn't happened yet, but I mean, you got people and machines involved, and you could end up being off, and it's off, then you have to explain why. You have weird things where somebody checks in and, guy puts his ballot in there, prints it back out to look at it, and then just takes it and leaves. So that throws you off.
And this has to be done prior to the canvass on the 15th, so this was just a step before we get to the canvass. And then you guys will see that.
I just wanted to make sure that you knew that was coming, because we didn't communicate that always very well in the past.
Very well. We'll be
So
sitting
it's a
around
couple
for
weeks
it.
away, but next week we're going to be running in circles, so I don't know.
Yes, for sure.
And those are selected by the Secretary of State's office.
They'll select races. And I think on the local ones, what they've done before is you have to pick a contested race that's a material race, and we have 3. It can't be a question, it can't be the jail ballot, it has to be a race between candidates. So
I think the issue is at the local level, people thinking that certain people are picked out, which isn't the case. So I think the last go around it was what race was it?
Would we end up with Leroy Mayor or not?
I think it was the mayor race.
It was the mayor
race, yeah.
But that was all that was contested, I think, wasn't it? Mostly?
No, there were some.
Or was there a couple others?
There were some council races.
I think there was another county race.
But anyways,
The Leroy Mayor deal. See, that was a tie race.
yeah, so we got to revisit that yet again. And
How's early voting going? Ahead of your expectations?
well, it was going real slow up until Friday, and I think it was a combination of the boss putting it out on the internet saying, get up here and vote, and the fact that we had a lot of people from all over the county down at the fairgrounds, and it was 102 degrees. A lot of them came up here and spent a few minutes.
Keep some people down too.
It's gone real well. We had 53, I think, on Friday, so that was
We've had over 200,
I hadn't had a chance to even look today.
we're getting close to 300, I think.
So it's moving right along. People really appreciate it. You hear some of them just want to come in and get it over with, but a lot of them are, I'm a truck driver, I've got to go out of town, and they like coming in and getting it done.
And some people that might not be able to get around real well, they can take their time to get in and do their thing and then get out.
And I've had a lot of comments from we've got it linked on our website for sample ballots, and tried to get that word out there. They can just Google up Kansas Voter View, and it takes you to put in your name and your date of birth, and it takes you and you can click on your sample ballot and bring it up ahead of time, print it off, use it as a cheat sheet, or we've got some printed out already, so you don't forget, because there's a lot of races on the ballot in this primary. People come in, and we've had several of them come in with the thing printed out saying, I didn't think I was going to be able to remember who I was voting for. All right, that's all I wanted. I didn't want to take up your time, but I did want to give you a heads up that we'll be showing up with a box and shaking.
300 seems like a pretty good number, though. That's probably, if 3,000 people vote, that's 10% already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're telling us from Topeka to expect a record turnout
early. That's probably a little higher
for primary. So I don't know. It seems less testy than a couple of years ago was, and but there are a lot of people showing up. So
good. Get out and vote.
Get out and vote.
Make a change.
All right, thank you.
These are important races.
If you have any questions about any of the election stuff, Angie's the expert on this stuff, and I'm learning as I fly through it. No, I'm telling you what, she sets up all this stuff. All these other counties, as we got up to our mailing out the first round of mail ballots, like the permanent advance, old, sick, disabled, and the people that were paying to have that done got notice from their vendor that they weren't going to have the ballots ready. And so they had to send them a PDF of their ballot, and they had to come up with the paper and everything to print them themselves in a rush on that night. She saves this county a ton of money and time by having that expertise going in there. I wouldn't want to have to do what she does. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Walk out of here.
Oh, you might be.
We're voting in here too. Sorry about that.
All right.
So one last PR plug, and it will be the last one. Thursday in New Strawn is the last jail meeting. So for those who watch, I don't know, they'll have to watch a long meeting today, maybe to the very end. But those who have questions, who haven't had their questions answered, and there are some out there, go to that meeting, attend, get the information, because that's the last meeting before a decision is made, and it's extremely important. Our jail is overflowing. I look at our jail roster every day, who I can make a decision on to potentially, either have bonded out or do something different, and my decision-making ability is getting less and less to go to the judge and say this person should get out. We've got a number of people farmed out to other counties now, and I don't see it getting any better, so.
And what time's the meeting?
6:30.
6:30.
6:30 at the library, last I knew. So, bring your questions, sheriff will be ready to answer them. I think it's important that questions be asked and answered, and so far he's been able to field all the questions that have been answered.
Very well. Anything else you got?
Other than an executive session. So I will request a 20-minute executive session that's under the attorney-client exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act. It has to do with sort of a combo county policy as well as potential litigation, myself, the board, and although I didn't necessarily intend to include the county clerk, I think it should include the county clerk as well.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Tim's moved.
Second.
Tom second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We will go in at 4:02 for 20 minutes. Because it just turned 4 o'clock. One last trip.
This is the start. Forward.
Oh, yes, I saw. Thank you very much.
Nope, that's all I have for, today. So, I know you're gonna meet again Wednesday, so I'll be back Wednesday.
Back to bless us with your presence Wednesday, huh?
Sounds like a warning.
If you wanna call it blessing, I think it's a blessing every time I get to come in here, but.
What time are our interviews scheduled for Wednesday?
11, 1, and 2.
Okay, so we will do whatever else we do around those times and.
About 5 of them. Is that them the buildings, I think?
That's something.
I think there's about $1,200 a piece.
There's 5 of them. Is that what those are for?
I think so.
Economic development.
Mhm.
Yes.
That sounds about right. It's got them labeled as CAS, K-A-K-L-A something.
2 Carnival.
There's 3 on another ticket.
Yeah, I think there's like 800 in materials and 300 or something like that, labor, or 200 labor, something like that.
Is this part of that?
Yes, everything's in this folder. Is that, we'd already done something, already issued one
I
check.
don't know what that, I don't have any idea.
Andrew, you got a check here for $18,920 goes to, Maribel Cakes. We'd already issued one check for, 100, but then they came back for more. Reimburse original operating expense from month. I thought we already
You
had.
better have Bobby explain it.
Yeah, we can call
I
him
thought
out.
we had that
He
already.
still had money that was left over that he had to
Did he
give
have
out.
some?
Had to
Yeah, I hadn't spent it all yet.
I thought we,
Sorry, let him explain it.
I thought the beach used to hold,
No, he was holding.
he was holding some out.
He was holding some out.
I guess I don't recall what was holding out. Would you say Wednesdays 11, 12, and 1?
11, 1, and 2, so you can have a lunch break in between.
Okay. I'll be right up.
You gotta go, now what kind of business you thought that is?
Huh?
Gotta go,
Yeah.
septic tank. Septic tank sucker. Rothschild, septic sucking sewer.
Red Green Show.
Roll it down, up 90, closed over 90. S&P's at 5. Stagnant now.
Go ahead with that, I've got this one right here, I want to hear a little bit from Russ on the wall. What's it for?
15,000 roughly, they spent, so they ran out of, the original budgeted project funds I had in the bank was about $15,000 left. We spent that on construction, but that was really their operational. So I didn't have enough time to come ask for the extra 15, so they spent their money. That was intended for operational, on construction. So I'm wanting to reimburse them so they can get the doors open.
How much do we we totally have with them now?
150.
I was thinking we had it closed down, then all of a sudden this is here.
Yes, sir.
Well, can we just keep, anytime somebody spends money and comes back and wants it, can we just keep giving them money?
No, sir.
So why would we do this then? What are we telling everybody else out there, come my money to come county, we just keep working it out?
No, sir.
I was thinking we'd had it closed off.
Is it done?
They did come back and ask for more after the original bid came in lower than what they.
Yes, sir.
And
Well,
we
the
took care
original
of
contractor did not
that.
do it.
But I think that's already done, I thought.
And you said they spent 15, but that's for 18, something too.
Yes, sir. There was another $30-some $100 worth of expenses on top of that 15.
And this is totally done?
I still have not done the punch list with the contractor yet. And I don't want to stick my neck out that far. I would say you're 99% done.
Our financial obligation over on this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What was your question,
I
Tom?
won't mislead you, but
Was
it's
our
that close.
financial obligation already completed? Yes.
Yeah, I thought we had everything completed.
I'm not gonna sign it.
I need to get my name wiped off of that as of right
You
now.
put it on.
I signed it before I looked at
You
it.
put it on.
Huh?
Okay, Nancy.
Well, I mean, what are you gonna, what are the options?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, what are our options?
I mean,
Could they go to the bank?
No, sir.
They're already tapped out at the bank. Cause we had that discussion here a while back.
Yes, sir.
And so we was up in the amount that we was going in, and the bank did take a little bit more.
They did.
And so,
And we did up it,
But we've
right?
already increased ours.
Yeah.
yeah,
I forget now what that increase was, but.
Was that 15 grand, was that $15,000, I guess it was $18,000, was it just spent, or was it asked prior to being spent?
No, they called me and said, hey, we got these expenses coming up, but this is for our operational. And I said, well, I don't know what to tell you right now.
Why was the expenses, well, I mean, what was the added, I guess?
So it's taken so long to get open that they've had this recurring just expenses from just paying the electric and the water, and that's not a whole bunch of money by itself, but.
I thought when we read down it here 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, that topped the construction part of the house.
Yes, sir.
We just can't keep doing that in this county.
What are your options?
Yeah,
What are your options
It's
now?
gonna be what are their options, not our options. We have an agreement. If they don't meet this agreement, there's consequences for it. We just can't keep buying them off and buying them off.
Rip it up.
What kicked up the extra 15? Have it been the wiring or the plumbing or the construction part, or is there any one specific area that created this?
Yes, sir. So, one instance is fire protection. They had a $4,000 bill for fire protection. They weren't expecting it. We didn't budget for it.
They didn't expect to have to put in fire protection?
Not with the hood system they had.
That's what I was
They
gonna
were told
ask,
after the
I'm
fact.
sure it was gonna be the hood.
Yep.
There's $5,000.
But they still got,
That's
there's still
still-
another 12,000.
Oh, yeah, I can account for it. I did ask for invoices and stuff.
Maybe we ought to discuss something with them and then talk about it Wednesday.
Would they come up?
Yes, they would. And I would encourage that.
I'd say get them up here Wednesday.
We'll be here.
Okay.
I guess we'll pull it back.
Okay.
Or I sign the check, we'll pull it back. We can tear the check up.
Yeah.
Don't do that, we'll just void it or
Void it.
something. You kinda gotta have that record.
You don't wanna.
Shredder.
Yeah.
Not to change the subject, I was gonna come out and talk to you today or tomorrow or Wednesday. The carnival we got coming in, everything's on track for it.
Yes, sir.
But I've had a couple phone calls from Leroy. That was the only specific date that was available from that particular circus limit.
Yes, sir.
Is there a rodeo tied to that one also?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And it's on what, Friday or Saturday night?
Saturday.
Or rodeo Leroy.
Well, Leroy's got a rodeo also Sunday, because they didn't know this was already in place. I don't know all the details, but I've had some phone calls while it was scheduled on time. And of course, I mentioned that when we did it, that it was hitting Leroy homecoming, and you can't avoid every day. I fully realize that.
But on the rodeo,
But there's more of it on top of.
that's not a bad deal on the rodeo.
Well, that's what I kind of talked
For
about.
the contestants to be in Coffee County,
Go
spend the
one way or
night,
the other.
and then go.
And to me, that ought to be a plus, but I
Yeah.
wanted to see to me, that ought to be a plus. I need to call these people back.
Are we having a car show and Leroy's having a car show both?
Yes, sir.
Our car show would be Sunday.
Yes, sir.
Ours up here is probably Saturday,
Yes, sir.
You doing anything?
which is, to me, is probably a plus.
That's a plus too.
I'm sorry?
Are you guys doing everything Sunday?
No, the big thing, most everything is Saturday. So there is a conflict there. That's when all the kids' events are, that's when all the main events take place. The only thing Sunday will be taking place will be the car show and rodeo. I assume, might be something else, but Saturday's the big day there, which interferes up here,
When are the school kids going?
Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, Burlington's scheduled for Friday, trying to get, I'm still waiting on the, Lebo superintendent, Mr. Corey Linton, to email back, what time he wants to do Thursday. And, Leroy, Southern Coffee County is gonna go We're probably just gonna give them tickets because of the homecoming festivities.
That way they can come either any day of the week.
Yes, sir.
That we're here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I just sent them to the auditor.
There is one more thing, if you commissioners have one more second.
Sure.
This, I talked with, Mr. Don about this. This is just something for you to consider. Again, no action required, just deliberation. Mr. Martin Luther contacted me and wants to buy this property. We did not discuss price. He is not asking for anything, he just wants to purchase the property and put a production facility there.
Where's this at?
At the one stop.
Our one stop area is bigger than a 40 by 80.
That's the building size.
That's just the building size.
Okay, I'm sorry. Absolutely.
The lot should be 150
Yeah,
wide.
150, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Bobby, on this 1537, is this part of the?
That was part of the fire protection.
That's what I was reading.
So have you been in negotiations or anything yet?
Yes, sir. I wanted the commissioner to decide what you want to sell the land for, if you do want to sell it.
I kind of thought that was a point buying reason that we got it, was to put a business on it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you wanna sell it? I mean, you know what we have in it, so.
Find out what, yeah.
I can hit 'em.
That's what I think. Start, figure out something and come back with us what you come up with.
We
I will.
can
My
go
thinking.
to executive session sometime and.
That's what it, that was our intent.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's why we did it.
well. Have you mentioned anything to them yet, or they just want? they
On
do
price?
it? Yeah,
Have not?
so they do wish to purchase,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Not asking for a dime.
Business, gonna be a wholesale or?
He's gonna put a retail storefront, just like when he
Right.
I mean, you,
Awesome.
started up years ago.
I mean,
So I mean, you know what we got in it, I mean,
Yep.
I agree, I mean,
Yep.
all we wanna do is break even, if that, I mean. Exactly.
I think retail is what we're looking at.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the whole reason behind doing what we do.
What we do, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you want these pictures back?
Find out more and get with it.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah.
Okay, we got the budget for the council and the attorney.
Those are just to put in your book if you want. I've already sent the numbers back to the auditor, so he'll get those in, and I'll print you all copies.
Punch those and put them in my book, please.
I'll print you all copies when he sends it, turns around and sends it back to me.
Alright.
I'll just lay that.
Anybody got anything else? Nope. If not, we'll recess until Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock or 9?
9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, yeah, 9 o'clock.
Usually. Well, it's gonna be, you keep stalling around, it'll be 8 o'clock.
All right, we'll recess till 9 o'clock.
At 4:40?
Wednesday morning.
4:40?
4:40.
At 4:40?
4?